Lucero.
Hello.
John, we're on episode 86 of this motherfucker. God damn, man.
It is. This is my 36th episode I've been on, I think.
Didn't you miss one since episode 50?
35th episode I've been on.
Yeah, I think there was one where it was just me and Anthony. I think it was like right after we tried that timer thing or whatever.
Yeah, man, I forgot about that.
Yeah. If that app still worked, I wouldn't mind trying it occasionally, but the iOS 11 decided to take that app out, so along with a bunch of other shit. And boy, also decided to kill the battery in my phone, which is wonderful. So my iPad remains on iOS 10 and probably will remain so until it forcibly just fucks itself onto my iPad. So.
Yeah, mine's on 11. A lot of the sites that I go to, like on the iPad, are like their video things don't work quite right anymore. It's very frustrating.
It's very frustrating to use my phone and then come home and use an iPad and it's like, oh, this works. Oh, this is fine. Oh, this works the same as it used to. I'm like, God damn, I missed my. Yeah, it's like my iPad went from, or my phone went from like I could go all night at work, like at a 10-hour shift, listening to a podcast, and it would be, I don't know, 40-something% by the time I got home, or by the time I clocked out, to I'm at like 16% sometimes when I'm leaving. So it's doing something to the back that it is just sucking my battery dry.
Yeah, I'm due for an upgrade in April, so that'll solve that problem for a little bit, hopefully.
Yeah. Hopefully it's just not an iOS problem.
I've got a Galaxy, but yeah, it's it's battery problems are battery problems.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm due for an upgrade, but at the same time, like I don't like the lack of a headphone jack. I don't know. Ugh. I've tried using like wireless headphones before, and they just never sound quite as good as a wired set, and I just like I can't get the diminished audio quality. I can't get past it. So
there's something like I don't like, especially earbuds. They don't feel secure in my ear if they're not because they'll fall out of my ear when they're on a wire. So it's like the idea that like if I'm running and they just fall out of my ear I don't like that at all.
Let me make a suggestion to you. Bose Sound Sport. Okay. I have been.
I use Bose. They fit very well. They just occasionally fall out if I'm not, but usually when I'm lazy about putting them in. But it's okay. Like.
Are they the ones with like the little weird like thing on the top that like clips into like the like middle part of your ear? I guess I don't know what you would call that.
Yeah, like the curve part.
Yeah. It's like a bud, and then it has like this weird sort of like half crescent on the top of it.
Yeah, like a raptor toe.
Yeah,
going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. That's what I use.
Okay.
That's what like $80, I think.
If you're patient on eBay, you can get them for like $50. So.
Oh yeah, I've never been a deal hunter. Mm-hmm. But yes, obviously people can get stuff for cheaper. I'm just like yeah.
Yeah, no, it's a matter of like the setup I have at work. Occasionally, like I literally had a set for like a month, and I bent the cable or the thing that attaches into the phone, and I was like, oh fuck, are you kidding me? So I just had to throw that pair away. Like I could not salvage it no matter what I did. And so I found from Bose themselves, they had them for like $55 a piece, and so I bought 3 pairs just to have as backups now. So.
Yeah, this has been your Bose sponsor section of the podcast. Hey, Bose, they work.
Tech Minute too. So
yeah, your Tech Minute.
Yeah. So no, I have always been a big Bose fan. Like when I was
I love Bose. Yeah,
when I was I'd say like mid-teens. My mom took me to like an outlet mall, and they had a Bose store there. And I don't know if you had ever seen this thing where they put you like in a little room, and it's like a little movie theater or whatever, and they have those big tower speakers or whatever. And they just crank the shit out of the volume, and you're like, holy God. I was like, man, this sounds good. And then it's a goddamn facade. Those tower speakers were fake, and it's the little fucking tiny cubes, and you're like, holy shit, this thing can produce sound out of this oh my God. And they just proceed to just blast the volume to prove to you that it was those speakers the whole time. And I'm like, I'm fucking sold forever, my God. So so that's kind of where I've stuck with Bose most of my life. My the headphones I use for this and like when I sit in front of the TV in the middle of the night and have to put in some headphones is a set of Sennheisers. I forget what it is, but anyway.
Sennheisers.
Sennheisers. Okay, there we go. Some conglomeration of those two things I said. So
I like Sennheisers quite a bit. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm a fan. But yeah, everything else like headphone wise or earbuds is Bose. Like I love Bose to death. Like just I've got some friends who like love the beats. I'm more a fan of like the natural kind of sound of things. I'm not a huge fan of like the overly strong bass. I would rather have something a little bit more neutral. And just kind of gets into like what we've talked about before. Like me with my musical taste, like I prefer stuff the way it was meant to be heard, not like, oh, here, let me decide what I like out of this.
Yeah, I feel like Sennheisers are better for like a straight up if you're just using them for music, but I think Bose are better for a more wide range of sound. You're like podcasts and things like in phone calls if you so desire. But yeah, I feel like Sennheisers are better for just straight up listening to music.
Yeah, they're definitely Sennheisers are definitely we'll say like they're kind of specialties, and Bose are we'll say like top tier utility players. So
yeah, and I always go for utility over like specialty.
Yeah, for sure. I like that night that pair broke on me. I had to use I keep the Apple set that comes with the phone in my bag for work. Oh man, I was just like, oh, these sound so tinny, and they just keep sliding on my ears. I'm like, people use these things and like swear by them, and they're awful. Spend $50 on something that isn't a piece of shit.
Yeah, it is nice that you get them with the phone. They aren't awful. It's just, but they're just.
Oh, I beg to differ, man. Oof.
I don't think they're. For a free pair of headphones.
Okay,
I don't think they're.
I'll agree with you there, and they're better than like the $10 cheapos you can get at like a Walgreens or whatever. But that's not saying much.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah. So jeez, how do we get on this?
I don't know. Did we start talking about anything? I don't
think so.
It's like, I really don't remember how we got on talking about headphones.
No, neither do I. Well, this has been your headphone minutes. Long story short, get some Bose, I guess. I don't know. Shit.
Yeah, get Bose.
Yeah.
Bose knows.
Yeah. So actually, the speakers I have plugged up to my Mac are Bose too. So there's that. So video games, guys. That's what we're here to talk about today. I really don't know how we got on this, but so we've got some video games to talk about. It's been a month. Originally, we were just going to take a couple weeks off for the holidays, and I ended up getting sicker than a dog and just was not able to recover. We could have done the podcast if you guys didn't mind me saying 2 words, coughing, saying 1 word, coughing, and then coughing in between the coughings. So
it's like a sick beat. We never got the drop.
Yeah.
So
sorry
everyone out there that you can get to hear that.
It is a mystery sound lost to the ages because it never occurred. I don't know where I was going with that sentence, so fuck it, whatever. Anyway, John, you finished Mario Odyssey in the same way you and I both finished Breath of the Wild. We finished the main story, and there's still a ton of stuff to do. But you, for the most part, finished it, right?
Yeah, I have not done the last 2 worlds that are supposed to be like the super platform challenges that are supposed to be really good. I have not done those.
Okay.
So those are like the last 2 things that I definitely want to do. I don't know if I'm going to 100% it, but I definitely want to at least do those. But yeah, that game's really good, Jason. It's like I don't.
Can like, I talked to? I'll interject here. I got my $3.50 worth out of it. So.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. It is just such a charming, joyful, fun game, and it ends in a crazy way. It's like it's over the top and fun. It's the end game stuff has been really challenging, and almost universally in a good way. Some of it I'm not a big fan of. There's some. It leans more toward the Super Mario 60, like the Mario 64 style of different things you have to do. It's a really wide variety of things you have to do, and instead of just like platforming like a Galaxy or like in a Galaxy game, which they said that in the lineage. This comes from the 64 Sunshine New Super Mario, like the 3D World or something. I don't forget. I forget.
Yeah, the 3D World Land ones.
Yeah, yeah. That. So this one's. So and generally they're fun to do, but there are just some little annoying ones. Like, wasn't a fan of driving a little remote control race car one, because there's like the race ones. There's always two you have to do, and the master challenge is just, oh man, you gotta be fucking perfect. You gotta make little room for error. And the Koopa races also can be frustrating, but I don't have as much of a problem with them because they kind of are the one thing in the game that forces you to use every ability at Mario's disposal to complete. And because it's literally get from this point to that point, we don't care how you get there, just get there. You have to beat a bunch of Koopas that are racing there too. And the master one has a golden Koopa who has a more wider range of abilities and will take more shortcuts to get there. So, and there are some that if you're smart enough, you can just wipe the floor with all of them. And I really appreciate that. There are some that are just like you have to be on your fucking game and nail every jump perfectly to do it.
Okay.
And they are frustrating when you're doing them, but I think in the end they are a good highlight of just how much control you have over Mario in this game, because you have a lot. And then also mastering the long jump the hat throw, long jump off hat move is very important for those races, for a lot of the shortcuts.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
Yeah, it's once you figure it out, it's really not as complex as it sounds. It eventually will become muscle memory. It's not it doesn't sound as it's like it makes more sense when you're doing it. Like it sounds a little overly complicated, but it's really not. So that's been cool. Like complaints wise, I have a few that are just design wise. I think the end game stuff, a lot of the harder challenges are made much harder on the handheld mode, because I feel like I have less control over Mario with that than I do with the Pro Controller. It just doesn't feel as good.
Yeah, so, I'm gonna agree with you. I don't know, maybe just in general, like I have a hard time playing like more involved games on, in portable mode, I guess, with the Joy-Con. Like that Pro Controller, man, it is almost a necessity for anything, it feels like. Yeah,
and also I honestly think this game, and this game actually counter to Breath of the Wild, actually looks better on the big screen than it does on the handheld. Like the resolution is sharper, I think, at least for me it has been.
Okay.
And so, Breath of the Wild had frame rate issues when it was docked, and it was less noticeable on the handheld just because of the shorter
latency issues or whatever.
And the shorter draw distance. I think it had less of a draw distance, so okay. I think it wasn't pumping out as much.
I'm trying to remember. I don't remember that issue on the Wii U, honestly.
Maybe it's just there's no difference on the Wii U is the thing. Yeah. I remember it's definitely a noticeable difference on Breath of the Wild, especially in the big open grassy areas with that frame rate takes a hit there for sure. Mario, I don't think I've ever seen a frame rate drop in Odyssey. I would probably be shocked if it ever happened at this point. So that game is like 5 gigs, and that makes no sense to me. It's like,
that's always been Nintendo's thing. Like they know how to compress data properly. I guess I don't know what the fuck they do. But.
Yeah, it's so pretty. It's great. Another complaint before I forget. I think I talked about it. The motion control stuff is also on in handheld mode. Very frustrating to try.
Because I don't feel comfortable flinging my my $300 system like in a direction just to get something to work.
No, I don't. And thankfully most of that stuff I don't think it's ever really necessary. There's very few very few times where I think you have to use motion control to do anything. And I and it was mostly to unlock, like there's one in particular is like you have to throw your hat up on a zipper to unlock it, to like unzip it, which is a silly sentence, but
yeah. I saw a few of those, so I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, and it's just sitting there trying to fling in my fucking tablet just to throw this hat so I can get some coins or whatever, because coins actually matter now, and there's a lot of cool costumes to unlock that show up after you beat the game. There's a lot of cool fan service in the end game stuff, especially the final, like the final area that unlocks after you beat the game is unfortunately it was spoiled for me. You know those paintings that you can go through to go to like little sectioned off places of the world. If you find like a painting, you can go through it. And
oh no, I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, there are those there's one of those in every world, and they lead you to different worlds, and there's like a small like floating island in the sky or whatever, or a small section.
Oh, you know what? Yeah,
area.
I did see one of those. I did find one of those.
Yeah, one of them took me to this in-game area, and so I had it kind of spoiled for me before I should have, I guess. But the thing is, you can totally. I didn't like break the game in any way to get to that thing. Like you can totally get to it. I got to pretty like halfway, 2/3 of the way through the game. I don't remember the world order exactly, but yeah. So that was kind of disappointing. It was still cool getting there, and there's still plenty of stuff that it's like it just spoils that it exists. There's still plenty of stuff to see when you get there. So that's, I guess, that. So, but yeah, overall, like it's just a damn good game.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's
and the music's great too. But,
It's a Mario game for sure, and it's a good great Mario game, I would say. Except I've mentioned this before. I don't know what it is, but the Mario stuff just bounces off me anymore. If I know.
How far did you get?
God, I don't know. I'm trying to remember. I don't even have it in my Switch right now that I could pull it up and look. So, made it pretty far. Like maybe like 4 worlds in.
Okay, there's like 12, I think.
Okay. I feel like I did enough that I got the gist of it, and I was like, okay, cool.
Yeah. I mean, it's.
I spent $3 on it technically, so I was like, no big deal. So
there's some cool later stuff, but I mean, it's not like it's more cool to see. I mean, you know what that game is. It's Mario.
Yeah.
That it's I was gonna say, I think when I checked, I've a little over 30 hours. I think they don't give exact times on the Switch. I think it said over 30 hours.
Yeah.
But so yeah, I mean, I got 30 hours out of that game already, and I haven't even got everything in it. So it's a large game, especially for Mario. But
yeah, 30 hours for a Mario game. I mean, that's a lot of game.
Yeah, and I enjoyed pretty much every second of it. It's a few parts here and there were not as, like some worlds, not as some weaker worlds and whatnot, but
Yeah, I mean, I would have never thought that Nintendo could have gotten like 100+ hours out of a Zelda game, but there we are. So I mean, 30 something out of a Mario game probably isn't unreasonable.
Yeah, it's Nintendo did good this year, guys. Nintendo did good this year.
Yeah. All hail Nintendo. I mean, I hate to say it, but man, they knocked it out of the fucking park this year. Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Now I'm curious how next year's gonna go.
I don't want to say a little worried, but man, because it's just like, how do you beat like probably like the best Mario game that's come out in a long time, and the best Zelda game that's come out in a long time, in some people's minds, maybe ever. How do you fucking top that? I mean, what is there next year? I mean, we're looking at like Kirby and
No More Heroes, I think, is out next year.
Okay, I don't think it's going to top either of those.
Kentucky Route Zero is getting a complete edition. I don't know if that's only on Switch. I forget. It might be on PS. I think it's on PS4 too.
Yeah, and on PC. Of course.
Trying to think of games I know about. Dragon Ball FighterZ is going to be on there, but that's like the worst place to play that game, probably.
Yeah, I swear there's something else like from Nintendo that's coming out, and I can't. Oh man, I'm trying. I know, like I said, there's Kirby and there's something else, but what it is, I don't.
Is there a Yoshi game coming out next year?
I don't think so. Yeah, let me look because.
No, Metroid and Pokemon are way off because they haven't
Yeah.
even shown anything of those games.
Oh man, yeah. Okay, so you got to think about this with the Pokemon game that's going to come out for the Switch eventually. Think how many fucking Pokemon there are, and they have to make 3D HD models of each one of those fucking things.
I am just curious as to what direction they're going to go in that Pokemon game. It's that's I want to see that game. That's what I'm most curious about. Just see where it's going.
Yeah. There
Then-
is a Yoshi game. Okay.
Yeah. Does it have a name or is it just a Yoshi game?
Right now, just Yoshi.
And then Kirby is Kirby. Did Kirby get a name? I feel like it recently got it.
Kirby
got
Star
a name.
Allies.
Yeah. And because it was just Kirby and it was Kirby and Yoshi. I think that was at the Switch announcement in January when they showed those games the first time. Maybe.
Yeah, I think so. I think you're right.
Maybe it was E3. I don't know. A lot has happened this year.
Yeah, it's been a little tough to keep things straight now. So.
Yeah, but yeah, Splatoon 2 came out this year. They just released Xenoblade. So like they've released a lot of their big games already.
Yeah, I feel like they maybe should have held Xenoblade out for until January or something. Like put it, give it like the holiday room to breathe, because people that are getting Switches are probably gonna want Mario, maybe not Xenoblade, Mario or Zelda. That would be my go-to. So.
Yeah, I think they went with that Final Fantasy 15 slot, like with the taking up like the last month of the year when nothing else comes out. So, yeah. I've never looked into sales and stuff, so I can't say how effective that is. But
no idea. Let me see, because Project Octopath Traveler is supposed to be coming out next year.
Right. Yeah.
Bloodstained, Ritual of the Night, supposed to be finally coming out. I guess we'll see if that actually happens.
There's a bunch of indies that they announced, the Nindies. And I feel like No More Heroes and Kentucky Route Zero were like the ones that caught my interest. I don't remember the other ones but yeah, like big game wise, I just don't think they have anything announced at this point in time. What could they announce?
Smash Bros. Port? Oh yeah, that's right. They also put Mario Kart on there this year.
Yeah, it's already there.
Oh god, yeah. I mean,
yeah.
I would like Captain Toad to be on there on a system that is actually selling and has a life ahead of it. So.
Captain Toad, maybe a Pikmin game.
Yeah. I mean, it'd be cool if port over all 3 Pikmin games. I'd be good with that.
Yeah, a new Fire Emblem, like an act on there.
That I would imagine is probably going to be like, because they do have one coming, but I can't imagine that's going to be next year. That's got to be like.
Oh right, they do have one. They do have one planned, and that is a Switch game. Forgot about that.
Yeah.
Because I forget they announced like 3 different Fire Emblem games all at the same time.
Yeah, it was what is it? Echo, Shadows of Valencia, then Warriors, and then
Fire Emblem Switch. I think.
Yeah, so man, that is I don't know. I kind of worry about the Fire Emblem getting a little diluted, but because man, it went from very, very, very niche series to all of a sudden it's like we're getting one every year. It almost feels like.
Awakening was a huge game.
Yeah.
So. What else is? I mean, it's Nintendo. They have a lot of stuff, but like, I feel like.
Metroid. I can't imagine that's coming out next year. That's got to be like 19.
I can't imagine that coming out next year. I feel like I'd be less surprised if Pokemon came out next year.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, I guess you could just really try to pretty up the Sun Moon assets and put them on there, but they're a little jaggy.
They just did Ultra Sun and Moon, right? Mm-hmm. So I guess they could port those over again. They could just port those.
Oh god, I'd be so pissed off if they did that.
And no, there won't be a Star Fox game. There won't be a what else?
I'd be okay with them like doing that like Star Fox 64 3D that they did on the 3DS and putting that on the eShop kind of thing. I could be good with that.
Maybe a Donkey Kong Country. Maybe one of the return series.
Yeah,
they did.
maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, they like you said, they've got a ton of franchises, and in the last couple of years, they've launched Splatoon and they've launched ARMS. I mean, for what that's worth, and I don't know how big that's held on to, but
I thought ARMS. That reminded me, they have Punch Out, and now they have Joy-Cons for Punch Out. So
yeah,
I mean, I don't. Maybe they don't want to cannibalize their ARMS fans, but I mean, come on.
Yeah, I know. It's sitting right there.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
you know what I would really like them to do is remaster and rework a shit ton of Skyward Sword. Like, make that game not fucking annoying to play, and I could probably see myself getting back to it. But logging out and then coming back in and like, you picked up a rupee, this is worth it. It's like every fucking time. And just that, oh god, I thought Navi was annoying, but holy shit, I wanted to strangle 5 feet.
Is the structure of that game good enough to where minor changes would make it a good game?
Yes.
Okay.
The bit I played of it, there was just so much like little shit that was like, this needed something that it couldn't do.
I just remember the beginning of that game being pretty bad.
Oh no, I'm not going to disagree with you, but I mean, you'd have to remember, like they trimmed up some of the stuff on Wind Waker that bogged it down. They trimmed up some of the stuff on Twilight Princess that bogged it down. So
but Wind Waker was already awesome, and Twilight Princess is pretty good, but Skyward Sword, like some of I remember right, you repeated dungeons too, didn't you, in that game?
I believe so. I actually got to about the 3rd dungeon and called it quits because I just could not deal with the hand holding anymore. It was getting so obnoxious, and I enjoyed some of the puzzles, but man, the Wii, even the Wii Motion Plus, I mean, I think you had to use that to play that game, but it just technology wise, it was not good enough for that game.
Yeah, it just felt like a very uninspired Zelda game, other than like the art style and I guess the flying thing, but that was just sailing on a bird instead.
It wasn't really all that interesting. But man, like I said, there was so much like I think promise in Skyward Sword. It just flubbed. Now I don't know how good it would be to go back to after Breath of the Wild's come out. I mean, because that's granted, I don't know how often Nintendo's done this, where they talk about it being more open and they've looked to Western developers a little bit for inspiration and stuff. It's like, oh, we're aware of this stuff now. Let's try to do it. And Skyward Sword was, they were talking that up quite a bit when Skyward Sword was in pre-release. And boy, that was the total opposite of open world.
Yeah, I do remember that. I do remember that. And also, like, that game was like very important for the Zelda lore, because it's the first one, right?
Yep. That spoiler alert: Fi becomes the Master Sword.
No one saw that coming. And then Ganon isn't named Ganon in that, right? It's like a different thing. It's like a different thing.
Honestly, I don't remember. Like I read through it, like
because there's like
I scanned through it in the Hyrule Historia. So
because there's like a main villain, and then I think Ganon shows up towards the end.
There's a guy who, man, I'm trying to think. If I'm remembering right, like he kind of looks like Magus from Chrono Trigger. Maybe I'm remembering. I don't know.
I feel like he looked more like Fi, but like a human kind of. But maybe I'm crazy. Maybe I just completely misremembering.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like I said, I bounced off that game really quickly. I was just like, oh, I'm not enjoying this.
Yeah, I think that one just needs to be. I think it's gonna be forgotten.
I don't know. I mean, we kind of thought that about Majora's Mask, and the Switch would kind of be the only way to properly emulate. But like,
there are people like really like Majora's Mask. I've never heard anyone besides Phil Kohler say they really like Skyward Sword.
That's okay. That's true.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like I said, with some fixes, I think there's a good game that's salvageable out of there. It's just a matter of it's going to take a lot of work to get it out of there. And I mean, like I said, there was some stuff in Twilight Princess they took out that made it, I would say, considerably more playable. I mean, I think it brought it up from a good game to a good Zelda game to a very good Zelda game. Wind Waker, they brought it from very good to definitely I would say top tier Zelda. So
it's a top 5 Zelda, I think, for most people. It's number 3 for me. So
I don't know. Like I don't know. There's a lot I'd like to see Zelda wise, but I mean that is the one I would like to have something that's a little bit more playable that I can go back to and try again, because I really feel like it's the only one that I haven't put any like real time into that I'm curious about. Like Majora's Mask, I played a bit and I just never got into it. Didn't matter the 3D or the 3DS version or the original 64 version. It just never got its hooks into me. I played, I would say like maybe halfway, 3/4 of the way through the 2 Oracle games. I finished Minish Cap. I pretty much gone through every Zelda game except those those CDI ones. But Skyward Sword is the one that I'm like, I want to finish that. It's just there's so much baggage with that game that they need to work on that I just, I don't know. It would be a monumental task. But if anybody could be up to it, Nintendo's the kind of developer to go back to it and maybe fix it up a little bit.
Yeah, I would like a modern Link's Awakening. I've never really played Awakening.
It was funny you mentioned that, and I was while I was talking about that, I was like, man, I would kind of like to see that redone, but I don't know. Like I think its minimalism kind of helps with what it is. I don't know if Nintendo could really do with Link's Awakening. I mean, and there's so much weird crossover with that. Like Yoshi's in there, and like
it's a weird game.
Chain Chomps are in there. And that whole game is just fucking weird.
And then I know about the ending of the game too. And,
25 fucking year old game at this point. I think we kill a caveat on the spoilers there.
I think in the fact that it has a bunch of like Twin Peaks like inspiration to it makes me curious. I like a monster like 3D remake would be crazy too, but I mean that's never gonna happen.
No, you know what? I mean, I'd be okay with is like what is it? A Link Between Worlds kind of thing where they did that, Something like top down 3D-ish, just kind of update the graphics a little bit, and well, not a little bit, a lot, I suppose.
Yeah, I was never a fan of Link Between Worlds art style, but I know some people really liked it. I never liked it at all.
I wasn't much on the art style; just the game itself is like what sold me. So.
Oh yeah, it's a very good game.
Yeah.
It's
yeah. I mean, you kind of egg off one of the finest, now I would say just the finest Zelda game and one of the finest video games ever made. I mean it's, I don't know, it's really hard to fuck up that formula.
Yeah, and you improve upon that game in some aspects too. So yeah, it's
yeah. I mean, it's weird that like, as that being a direct sequel to what a lot of people like consider their favorite and the best Zelda, that A Link Between Worlds doesn't really get a lot of talk. It seems to have fallen kind of through the cracks, and I don't know if maybe that has to do with it being on the 3DS.
Yeah, I would say it's because it's on the 3D. It's a 3DS game. I think that's because I mean, really, a lot of the handheld Zeldas don't get talked about as much as the console Zeldas do.
Yeah, that's very true.
I think Awakening gets the most, maybe.
And I think it's just because of how weird and subversive it is.
Yeah, like the Oracle games. People rarely talk about the Oracle games.
Mm-mm.
I've never played either one. I really like Minish Cap. I'm one of the bigger fans of Minish Cap, I think. And
I had a lot of fun with that one.
Yeah. No one that like, and then of course Hourglass and Spirit Tracks rarely get brought up by
those.
So
yeah, I maybe I'll be the no. I don't think it's like that. Much of a divergent opinion from people, but I don't think those two are very good, honestly. So I think that's why they don't get talked about a lot.
Spirit Tracks is bad.
Yeah. I mean,
it might be the worst. Like CDI Zeldas aside, like the obviously terrible games aside, the worst mainline Zelda game is probably Spirit Tracks.
Yeah, maybe I would put Skyward Sword close second, probably.
Yeah, I think just because it's on a console, I'd rather play Skyward Sword than I would Spirit Tracks.
Yeah, I mean, I don't, and I think a lot of Skyward Sword for me. The issue is the motion control thing. Like I so do not like motion controls. I am really not a fan of motion controls, and tethering itself to motion controls as heavily as it did. I mean, like I remember when like Twilight Princess came out. Up until that point, basically you could play every single Zelda game on the GameCube. That it came out up to that point. Because you had Wind Waker, you had Twilight Princess. If you had a game or the Super Game Boy player, you could play all of the Game Boy and the Game Boy Advance games. Yeah, well, I guess there's
That's how I played. That's how I played Minish Cap. I played it I played it on the GameCube.
And then you could play Link to the Past, the Game Boy Advance version, and then there was the collector's edition thing that had Ocarina, Majora's Mask and the first two Zeldas, I'm wanting to say. So, and then you could also do the for the first two Zeldas, you could also do the oh god, what is it? The black box NES things that came out for the Game Boy Advance.
Wait, I was thinking of NES Remix, but that's
Wii U.
Yeah.
It was basically just like NES games like put on the Game Boy Advance with kind of a bad screen ratio thing going on. But anyway, so it's like up until then, it's like everything there, like you could play it, that series whole history on one console. And as soon as they latched onto motion controls and touchscreens, it broke that. And I think part of me thinks like that. I don't know. Not a huge mistake, but it definitely hinders the ability to play some of these games further down the road once they get away from that technology. I mean, neither of us are fans of Spirit Tracks or Phantom Hourglass, but I mean, I don't know. I mean, I guess you could technically play them on the Switch, but you'd have to play them in portable mode. But I mean, it basically locks those games out forever once the 3DS goes away.
Yeah,
and that's a shame. I mean, the Wii U had a functionary, we'll say at best, method of DS emulation, but I mean, I don't know. Like I said, that's why I don't like that's why I don't like gimmicky controls, because then it locks it out from future releases of as far as like emulation and re-releases goes. So
yeah, and just like to like the basic problem is I just want to play it with a controller.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, there's a very set way we play video games, and it's worked for 30 years at this point.
Yeah.
Since controllers have been a thing, So and they work and they've been perfected. I'm still surprised that they were able to improve on the 360 controller. So obviously we haven't quite gotten there yet. So.
Yeah, there's always room for improvement, but I think for the most part, the Super Nintendo controller has been the basis for everything that's come since.
Yeah.
You can just look at that and just like everything as far as like ergonomics go and everything, like that's just the way video game controllers have kind of advanced since then. Anyway, but yeah, I agree. Like I personally don't like the gimmicky stuff. The touch controls thing was a little overdone. Twilight Princess, I think did it as best as they could, I think, or as best as you can do it and still have it in there, where you just you can just flick your wrist and you're swinging the sword. Like that for me was fine. It's the whole trying to do one-to-one movement that is just like, oh god, this is too much. Like, yeah, I just couldn't do it. Especially as you got a little further in, there's the parts where you have to hold in Skyward Sword, where you have to hold the sword straight up and you have to sit there actually point the Wii remote straight. You start feeling a little ridiculous doing that. It's okay in a WarioWare Mario Party sort of thing where the whole thing is you're being silly with a bunch of friends around you. This is a solo experience, and nothing feels weirder than you sitting there holding a Wii remote straight up when you're totally by yourself and you just have your cats looking at you like, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah. Wii Sports was cool though.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
I'm not going to disagree with you.
Yeah.
But again, that's something simple enough that you could very easily emulate that with a Joy-Con. So.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, yeah, it's
kind of another why you'd want to though. We've got 1-2 Switch already. I don't know why you'd want Wii Sports.
That's very true. That's very true. Why would I want something competent when I can have something just disgustingly overpriced and not good? And it was on my daughter was trying to talk me into it. And I was like, no. Normally she can talk me into anything. She was like, but Daddy, I want to play it. I'm like, nope. Daddy, please? I was like, nope. No, but I thought we could have fun doing it. I'm like, nope. I will buy you both versions of Pokemon before I get you that thing. Sorry. I will spend $80 fucking on Pokemon and or two different things of Pokemon for you specifically, because I've already got Ultra Sun and Moon for myself. So yeah, but it's I would get her both versions of that game for her only before I got 1-2 Switch. So even on sale, I am not buying that game. Like I said, that game could be $5. I might pick it up. I think that's my point of entry.
I don't think I'll ever pick. I don't think I'd even get it then.
Yeah. Like I said, I think that would be my point of entry. So there's a lot of. So Anyway, so Mario Odyssey is pretty good, huh?
Yeah, Mario Odyssey is good.
Fuck. God damn it, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Way off here.
Yeah. So, what? I also Switch-wise, I played Battle Chef Brigade. A few chapters. I played about halfway through that. I think it's not a particularly long game. It's anime Top Chef, basically. Anime Iron Chef. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And it's a solid little game. You know, you play as this battle chef named Mina, and battle chefs go out into the wilderness and hunt their ingredients, and then when you out and fight monsters and take their stuff back, and you do a match 3 puzzle game to cook the food, kind of simulate stirring the ingredients. And then there's like you have different pans and stuff for like that emphasize different types of ingredients, and then the judges will like, I want a fiery dish or a watery dish or an earth dish or whatever, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it's cool. It's got a really cool like watercolor kind of art style going on. The story is charming. It's like, if this was an anime, I probably would have watched it. Like, it's a very charming thing. It looks, and it has it hasn't been super hard. I have not failed a competition, but it's still frantic enough because there's a timer going out on like you have to kill and get your ingredients and make the food all within like an 8-minute time limit each time. So it's cool. Yeah, it's I've, like I said, halfway through it. Yeah, I don't think much else to say about it. It's $20. I think it's totally worth it, especially if you like puzzle games. It's a solid one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not. I don't know what it is. Like I just do not like puzzle games. I don't know if my brain is just not wired for them.
Yeah, I need like other layers on top. I do not just like regular puzzle games. I need more layers on top of it for me to even consider it. But like there have been a handful that I've really liked. Like last year, I loved The Witness and got obsessed with that game. So just like certain ones, but and then other than that, I finished Wolfenstein. That game has a hell of a story. A game. There are moments in that story. There are just constantly. Those cutscenes are very well done. The performances are really well done. It's well written, and there's like about halfway, 2/3 of the way through the game, one of the more jaw-dropping moments I've seen moments I've seen in the game in a long time, very long time. That's story A+. But the actual playing of the game is where you start running into issues, and that's like because it is not, the encounters and the difficulty of that game are not well balanced at all. It is way too hard for its own good.
What were you playing on?
Initially, I played it on. It defaults to the second of 6 or 7 difficulties.
Okay.
It defaults to the second one, and it said this is for like casual gamers who maybe have played a shooter or something along those lines.
Oh,
and the
Christ,
third one
was too hard for you?
No, and the third one was your experience with shooters. So I went with that one.
Okay.
And because I play a lot of shooters, I played Doom on hard mode when I started Doom. That's how I want. So I mean, I like fast-paced shooters, and the hit detection in that game, and like the game telling you that you are taking damage, it is not good at it.
I remember you complaining about that. Like you found yourself dying a couple of times, like just like, oh, okay,
yeah,
fuck.
Yeah, like because your health and your armor will drop super fast, and also there's like a conceit early on in the game for why you'll have less health. You'll have actually less base health than you should have. Mm-hmm. So you have a smaller health bar early in the game. And so yeah, you go down fast in this game, and I felt like it wanted me to be stealthy, but it does not give you the tools for it to be a good stealth game. Like there is no mini map. There is like the awareness meter is you can I think it's only on characters you're looking at. I have no idea. I multiple times in the same area, I would have guards AI path right behind me and catch me while I was trying to sneak on someone else, like from in multiple different ways. Like it kept happening in different ways, and I had no way of knowing they were coming.
Oh,
And
that sounds great.
yeah, and then and they just throw enemies at you. There, if you don't kill the commanders, which is in the first game, it was like this too. The alarm will keep going, and they will just not stop coming. And so it's always a mad dash to kill those guys. And so eventually, because I wanted to see the story through, and I was getting frustrated, and I bumped it all the way down to the easiest difficulty, and at that point, I was a murdering machine. And although I did actually die a couple times with difficulty.
Oh, Christ. Okay.
Yeah. There were a handful towards the end where I died. It was mostly me being lazy at that point, but I did die a couple times. There's maybe one combat encounter that sticks out of one or two that's really stick out in my mind, and mostly for them being longer than they needed to be by a lot. And and then as I was doing them, I'm like, God, if I was doing this on a higher difficulty, I don't know if I would have finished this fucking game, because this is just relentless. And for how hard they seem to have worked on this story, they really don't seem to want people to see it. It's like, because I really like this. Like BJ is a really good character. BJ Blazkowicz is a really good character. And he is, and there's a lot. He is, his inner monologue is always really interesting. Like he is going through some rough shit. He does not think he is going to survive for very long early on in the game. He is dealing with the idea of dying young for a very good chunk of the early game, and that game's got some heavy stuff in it, juxtaposed with some really ridiculous shit that I don't want to ruin for people, because it is some of the funnier stuff I've seen in a game in a while too. But yeah, like just the game part of the game is frustrating and not as good, and it should be better. Like if this game, and it uses the Doom engine, I believe, which just makes because you move so fast in the game that I want to play it like Doom. Like you book it through when you're running, and in the melee kills, like if you can instant kill most enemies, most smaller enemies or basic enemies with melee kills, and but you take damage while you're doing them.
Oh, okay.
Yes, and you get stuck in the animation if you do it, I believe. I don't remember if you can. I think you get stuck in the animation, so you can get killed while you're trying to melee someone to death. So yeah, there's just a lot of frustrating stuff. Also, the end of the game is kind of anticlimactic. It's like the very, very end, and the end credits have possibly the worst end credit song I've ever heard in my entire life. It is a spoiler alert. It is a metal cover of "We're Not Gonna Take It," like a modern.
I was just gonna say you could have just said metal, and I would have probably checked out already. So
it's like a modern metal cover of "We're Not Gonna Take It," and I think it repeats itself. I think it starts over halfway through the credits. I think it goes through twice.
Oh,
it's a bad song.
Oh boy.
It is a disappointing way to end that game, because there is I think the story is worth playing through that game to see. I think it is very good. I think it tackles some issues that this country has had for a long time, and it does it in a smart way. And it does. I don't feel like it's pushing in any sort of agenda too hard. Like I just feel like they're anti-Nazi, and I don't feel like that's a really hard agenda to push too hard.
What a stance!
Yeah. So,
what a hill to die on.
But like seeing the United States, kind of, give up and bow down to the Nazis, and what takes place in the country afterwards. I think they do a really good job of showing that stuff, and It's and honestly, the scariest part, you could totally see it going down that way.
Yeah.
So that's like
we like to think of ourselves as rebels, but let's remember that was 200 plus years ago.
Yeah, like it's so it's a game I recommend with caveat that it's
maybe as a game it's not as good as it should be.
Yeah, which is so disappointing.
Yeah, because that first one was just mwah. Just I loved it.
Yeah, it was. The first one I think was balanced better. I think I'd have to play it again. I think to see.
Make sure.
But but after playing Doom, it's even and they're different games. Like Doom is a different style of shooter even than you have. I think I just miss the freedom of movement you have in Doom compared to this game a lot of the time, because it just felt like a corridor shooter with like the movement of Doom, and a lot of which is you're just too fast. And also and then there were also open areas that were confusing, and I'd get lost in them occasionally trying to figure out how to get out of the area.
Okay.
So it has problems, but there is still there's very good stuff in there that I think people would like.
Okay, so for a guy like me, you would just recommend easiest difficulty level and just enjoy the show.
Yeah, and very, very much so. And I think you will have a good time playing it. Like I was complaining here, and I still enjoyed playing it. Like on the easy difficulty, because it's like you're just fucking laying waste to Nazis at that point. Just you are Terror Billy, as they love to call you at that point. I think that's also a problem. It's like the Nazis refer to you as this fucking killing machine, and like you're built up as this killing machine, and then you get like dropped in like 5 seconds by some low level asshole. And so it's just like.
Well, you do have to remember that every time you die, that is an alternate reality that ends for you there, and you respawn, and of course that's the real reality. So that's all they remember.
Yeah.
Or some such fuckery. I don't know.
Okay. So yeah, that's I might write a review for it. I've been busy, so I kind of have one in my mind. I don't know, but so that's that game. That's pretty much what I've played. Overwatch got a new character. I've only played her. I played her for the first time last night, so I don't really have much to say. So because I hadn't played it in like a month. But, other than that,
kind of weaned yourself back into it, or trying to wean yourself back into it a little bit anyway.
Yeah, just a little bit. I still love Overwatch, but I am not. Fun. Yeah, I will play it every now and again still, because it's a fantastic game, and I have a bunch of friends to play it with. But we're all looking for like new games to get into too.
Yeah.
I put 200 hours into that game. So.
I had nothing to sneeze at. So.
Yeah.
Well, something I put about I'd say 35 hours into Assassin's Creed Origins.
Okay, I do want to talk about this game. I have not played it, but I do want to talk about this game.
Okay, so let me start off by saying I like to think of myself as a fan of the Assassin's Creed series. Now, let's put this in perspective. That I own, I think, just about all of them, but really the only ones I've played are 1, 2, Brotherhood, and about an hour and a half of Revelations.
Okay. So you played.
I really don't understand how I consider myself a fan of the series, and I have played so little of it.
I mean, I guess at this point, there have been, the first 3 Revelations, 4, so 3, and then actual 3 would be the 5th one, and then Black Flag. Wait, no, is there one before Black Flag?
Let me see. Okay, so there's Revelations. We'll say I didn't. We'll just say I didn't play that.
Yeah.
3. I want to say Black Flag is the 4th one. There's Rogue.
Black Flag is 4.
Okay.
I'm trying to remember if there's one in between 3 and Black Flag.
No, I don't believe so. There is Rogue, which was the one that was strictly on the 360 PS3, which is kind of strange.
Yeah. It came, and Unity came out. They came out at the same time.
Okay, that's right. Yeah, Unity.
That's 5.
Yeah. What's the one after that one?
Syndicate, which is a very good one.
Then there's Bloodlines on the PSP.
If you want to count that, there's multiple handheld ones. There's
Yeah,
Liberation. There's
yeah. Well, that one ended up with I think it ended up on the Xbox One too, but that one also did get a PS4 port. So
there's the China. There's like there's
those three side story ones.
The Chronicles ones. Yeah,
those. So we're on 11.
I've never played a handheld Assassin's Creed, so you know.
Okay, so we're on 11 there, and then there are 2 DS games I want to say. We'll say 1 just to be on the safe side. So we're looking at 12 that I haven't really played out of, and I've played 3. Well, if you include Origins now, 4, and so 4 out of 16.
I consider myself a fair weather fan of the series.
Okay.
And I'm not. I would only count the mainline ones. If we're just gonna count like all of them, including handhelds, then obviously I haven't played that many.
Okay.
Let's see. I played one through Brotherhood. I played Revelations for like an hour or 2, so I will not count that one.
Okay.
I love Black Flag. It's my favorite. I played the shit out of that game. Never touched Rogue. Barely touched Unity. And I love Syndicate. Also 3. Barely touched 3. So I mean, I'm pretty much the same boat you are.
Okay. I was gonna say you don't sound. I mean, you've got a couple on me, but.
Yeah. So and this one, this is the big 2-year break Assassin's Creed. This is like after their yearly cycle they've been on since Brotherhood, I think.
Yeah. Because actually I think it was Assassin's Creed 2 and then Brotherhood came out a year later. So
yeah. So and Brotherhood was 2010, I want to say. So they had a good 5 years. So good of yearly Assassin's Creed games. One year they had 2 in the same year.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
So
yeah.
And then, I'm just talking about the console ones too.
Yeah, the mainline ones basically.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, I guess I don't know if Rogue is technically a side story as it is. So, but whatever.
Yeah,
so,
I mean,
we know what we mean, like the full 3D open world ish sort of things.
The full package Assassin's Creed game.
So anyway, so Assassin's Creed Origins. The main reason that this thing kind of drew me in, I want to say is going to be the setting. We've talked about this before, but like, you know, I love history stuff.
I do too.
I go to sleep to history documentaries or nature documentaries pretty much every day. I was going through the series of like Africa's ancient civilizations or whatever, and I was trying to use that as my kind of go to sleep, nod off, watch it for 10 minutes and fall asleep. I would end up like staying up for 40 or 50 minutes watching these things and be like, this is not a good bedtime show. I'm staying awake watching this thing. So, but the first episode was on Egypt. So yeah, anyway, so that's sort of my thing, or what brought me into it. The secondary thing was the, RPG elements, which, I mean, you can say that just about nearly every game these days, but the way they were kind of bandying that phrase about, I was like, ooh, okay. So we've got kind of what I liked about Assassin's Creed is kind of the cool exploration, free running sort of thing, with some weird I don't want to say alternate history, but I guess alternate fan fiction history sort of thing going on. With some RPG elements in an era that I'm like absolutely fascinated by, where it's sort of the beginning of the end. Maybe more towards the, I don't want to say, let's say this is the final book in the Egyptian Empire, and we're in like the middle of that book basically.
Yeah, from what I've seen, this is like the cities are kind of crumbling. From what I've seen, this is not height of Egyptian Empire.
No,
Egypt,
and we're literally like on the very edge of this thing, like all falling apart because Cleopatra's in play in this game. So and she was the last of the pharaohs. So so the first segment, you end up in a temple, and you just end up. You end up like in a fight, stronger than you are. Once you get out of this fight, just sort of does that thing to kind of like give you a little bit of a taste of like what's to come once you're not as weak as you are.
It Metroids you, or like
there you go.
Vinny Caravelle of GiantBomb.com coined the term an abilities. So
okay, there we go.
Yeah.
That doesn't really like roll off the. I don't know. Like I would have a hard time discerning that unless I knew specifically what that meant. So because it might just come across as sounding like abilities. Especially if, you're like me and you listen to podcasts at like 1.5, 2 times speed, that would just come across as abilities. It's like, what?
Yeah, but that's a weird thing to do. So it's
I do it all the time. So that's how I ingest as many podcasts as I do. So hey, you try sitting through 6 hours of a hardcore history podcast at one time speed. And then remember where it is because there's no natural breakpoints. So anyway, so you end up, this whole game's premise is this is the origins of the assassins, if you will, and taking on the name there. I was always kind of interested, like, as to like how this whole thing like came about. As much as I didn't like Desmond Miles, present, future, protagonist for the first 3 or 4 games. As much as I wasn't into him, I was into like what the assassins were and what they were doing, and like I said, just all this like want of a better term, fanfic history sort of stuff, conspiracy theorist or history, and it brings you to the village of Siwa, which is where Bayek, the guy you control for most of the game, he's from, and it's just this little backwater kind of dump, and you're introduced to there's Greek oppressors basically. Greece has conquered Rome, or let me see, sorry, the Romans come into this too, so there's going to be a lot of like me kind of transposing some of these occasionally, but Greece has already conquered Egypt. So there's a lot of melding of the two pots basically at this point. So
okay.
The current pharaoh is actually Greek. So Ptolemy the first or the second, I forget which one he is. But anyway, it doesn't really matter. Actually, one of the first like little side things you kind of come across is you happen to go by a statue of the current pharaoh Ptolemy, and it's like a little marker pops up to just destroy it. So you will find these statues kind of throughout Egypt, and your thing is just to go and just wreck these things, which is kind of a nice little thing of like, oh fuck this guy. So
okay.
Sort of, and that's a big thing with like I don't know how familiar you are with the like Egyptian things, but like when you start like defiling their monuments and everything, that is sort of like a way of like erasing them from even the afterlife, basically. A lot of the, what is it? Man, I am drawing a blank as to Tutankhamun's father was, but there was a lot of just erasing him off of, erasing a lot of his monuments, erasing his face, his name, basically just trying to effectively destroy him in the afterlife and destroy him from the record of Egypt's history, as they went back to the the gods they worshipped before instead of the direction that he was trying to take them in. So, but anyway, like I said, this is all stuff that's nice little bonus stuff if you know this part of like Egypt.
Sure.
But yeah, I mean, this is all stuff that it's just like, hey, fuck this guy.
Yeah, it was like in Black Flag. I know a lot about pirates, so seeing all the different stuff put together was really cool. But yeah,
okay.
it is not required to play an Assassin's Creed. This knowledge is not required to play an Assassin's Creed game. It's just little nice details.
Yeah, it's stuff where if you dig a little deeper or know beyond the surface level of stuff, it is kind of cool to like have it there. Anyway, so I don't want to say like my big issue with initially with this game was it controls a little differently, and like I said, it's been quite a while since I played a real Assassin's Creed game. I was very much used to the like the puppeteer kind of thing that they had going on, where like Y would climb or whatever, and if you held down A, it would you could sprint, or it would cause you to sprint or whatever. Like it was very much like each thing was attached to a certain thing on your body. Like the face buttons were attached to like parts of your body.
Yeah, that was like the initial promise of Assassin's Creed, is that it would be everything. The controller is an extension of like the assassin, but they've kind of gotten a little away from that. It's not as extreme as it was in the first one, but yeah.
I honestly, like, I remember in the second, or like, I think in Brotherhood, I don't think the control scheme changed very much, if at all, if I'm remembering it from the first one, and I didn't have a problem with it. But anyway, so it took a little like reconciling with that in my head of like fighting that memory of like, oh, this isn't control like this anymore. It's not totally different, but it's just different enough that it would throw me sometimes.
Yeah.
So that was sort of the initial hurdle to get over, and then once I've gone from there, that RPG elements thing is basically just you being gated out of areas. You're just not strong enough to fight anything that's like, I would say 5 levels above you. You can sit there and plunk damage away at something, and you might might be able to kill one, but if you get more than 2 things that are 5 levels above you, you're fucked. There is no way of getting past that. And that isn't like, I don't want to say like it's really frustrating because it gives this promise of, you know, how much, or like I said, it gives this promise of like all these RPG elements that there's like, oh, okay, I can do all this stuff. You know, I can do some crafting. I'm going to level up. It's going to get me stronger. You know, I can upgrade my weapons that I get attached to. But then you get to the reality of it doesn't really matter. You're basically kind of gated to where you can go and where you can't go, just by the enemies and just how much they're going to destroy you. And it's not just the Greece or the Roman or the Greek or the Roman soldiers. There's wildlife there too that you know, if they're strong enough, they're just going to they're going to completely wreck you too. I when I was like level 15, I came across some like 20 or level 20 vultures, and they just completely wrecked my shit.
You got killed by vultures?
Yeah. You know, scavengers.
Like the fucking like sheriff of Egypt got murdered by vultures.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. It was not good. Like I was trying to go through an area just to like get a fast travel point set up, and it still has that same thing of, you know, synchronizing where you go up to the very top and you know jump from that and into an impossibly placed hay pile that somehow breaks your fall from 300 feet in the air. But it doesn't make a lick of goddamn sense. But anyway, yeah, that's like as far as like gameplay goes, like that was where I hit the biggest thing. Now that I'm like level 38, and I think the hardest thing you have to fight is like level 40. So now I'm not really having any issues with it. But
okay,
it's the gating of it's a little obnoxious because you are definitely put into areas where you can go and you can try to go to these other areas, but you are just going to get completely wrecked the first encounter you get in. It's not great. So there's even some guys some wandering mercenary type guys. I'm drawing a blank as to their names, but you know, they're in their 30s for the levels, and they will randomly go into areas, you know, 20 plus levels below where you are, or where you are. And, you know, just seeing them occasionally, it's like, oh, I might stand a chance against this guy. Not realize, like the first time it happened, the first time I went up against it, and I'm like, oh, this guy's like 35. I'm 12. Okay, I'm sitting there like, okay, I've got this combat down. I can handle this. I can dodge pretty well. And I literally got him down like not to a quarter health, but I got a quarter health off of him. And he did one hit on me and it just killed me. I'm like, all right, well, I'm not doing that again. It's like I sat here for like 4 minutes, just plunking away at him. And it just one hit, you wiped me. I'm like, no, this is beyond Dark Souls level bullshit of just one hit and you're dead thing. I'm like, no, I'm not doing this. So,
well, I think I personally preferred gating as opposed to enemy scaling, like level scaling with you. If I mean, obviously that it's not like black and white, one or the other. But if like I prefer this decision to like the Oblivion's decision of making every enemy level up with you, so you never feel like you're powerful anymore. So, but
yeah, but I think like in Oblivion, I think the trick there is you have more tools at your disposal, where with Assassin's Creed, you don't really, I mean, your basic structure is there from the beginning. You do get a variety of different weapons. I mean, even just like the 2 standard swords, there's a sword and then there's the sickle sword. One will cause, or, you know, one's a little bit more, I guess, just a standard, you know, average speed, average attack power. The other one's a little bit more powerful, but a little slower. Then you get spears, scepters, giant axes, giant clubs. So it really just depends on how you want to play it. And there's a variety of different bows too. So,
okay, do the weapons all feel different and unique? And do they change the way you play when you use them?
Yes, yeah. Okay. You definitely have to consider your attack patterns when you do those, because it's definitely not just going mash down and, you know, go nuts. Even just the combat system in general, it's no great shakes, but there's enough there that it kind of keeps you on your toes. Even like I once I started getting a little further in, I started getting a little like bored of the combat, I guess. But I mean, you know, after 20 something hours of it, like, so I just bumped it down to easy because I didn't feel like I was being challenged enough that I was going to enjoy it if I bumped it up. But I also felt like I want to see more of this game without having to sit here and bang my head up against the wall against enemies that are 5 levels above me. So if I bump it down to easy, it's like I've got a little bit more of a chance of getting away from them. So it's kind of where my conceit was on bumping down the difficulty. As far as the multiple like bows go, there's like what equates out to a shotgun where you shoot out 5 arrows at once. And
Okay.
yeah, it's kind of weird. It's a weird, but um, the amount of damage it does, it's affected by the distance. The closer you are, the more damage it'll do. Because I guess the conceit on that is the further away it gets, the arrows spread out, so it hits less. So it literally is a bow and arrow shotgun. There's just a standard hunting bow, which you pull back and you draw, and the longer you hold down the drop to a certain point, it'll do more damage. There's a quick bow where you will literally have 5 arrows sort of at the ready, and it will fire off 5 arrows, sort of like a machine gun almost. It's kind of with a very, I guess, quick reload time. I mean, it's literally like half a second. So. And then there's the Predator bows, which are sort of the equivalent of a sniper rifle. You even, in your skill tree, you even can unlock ability where you can... Man, I'm talking myself out of this more and more as I talk about it. But there's an ability there where you can even control the arrow mid-flight once you...
I've seen that. Yeah. Okay. So, okay.
Yeah. Bayek as a character is pretty interesting. I like him a lot. He's not like I said, I'm going off of Altair and Ezio, where Ezio's sort of the funny, smug kind of asshole, I guess, if you want. Bayek is, he's out for revenge for the murder of his child, which is, something, I don't know, I don't want to say even as a non-parent, you could probably relate to that. Like if somebody killed your a friend's child, you would probably still want to, kill that person. I can totally understand that. But, as a parent, it really kind of set in for me, like, okay, I get what Bayek is going through, but Bayek still has a great amount of, for want of a better term, like warmth to him. And it's very weird. I mean, he's the last of the Medjay, which are sort of like the protectors of the people of Egypt. And I don't know, he's very serious about his job, and I like Bayek as a person. There's even like some of the side missions, they're a little, we'll say simple, I guess, for want of a better term. But there's one where you find some kids and one kid sees you after a synchronization point, jump off, and he just takes you like, Bayek, I want you to jump off these other places. And then you have a bunch of other little kids following you around, like, oh my gosh, how cool is it that you're doing this? And it's kind of like a cool little thing of like, these kids are just like in awe that you're, climbing 200 feet in the air and jumping off, and
yeah.
It's a pretty cool little thing. And they even give you a nickname. You become the Great Flea. I don't know why you become the Great Flea, but it's a touching little thing. And Bayek even kind of comments on it, because the leader of this gang, the boy that initially sees you, even comments that he asks if you've ever taken your son hunting, and he says that Bayek says, yes, we used to go hunting a lot. And he says, well, I hope you get to go hunting with your boy again sometime soon. And then as the boy runs off, Bayek, very solemnly to himself, but not like overly remorseful, says, yes, I do too. It's very much this, he feels as real, I think, as you can get in this situation. But then there's areas where he doesn't feel quite as real with his wife, which...
Okay.
Aya, who is just this like real badass, but she doesn't end up as powerful as Bayek because she doesn't get any of the special equipment that Bayek gets. But you play as Aya a few times, and she's just like 2 long daggers kind of fighting style, which is kind of fun to use.
Oh. Okay.
But she never really gets all the tricks that Bayek gets. She doesn't have all the special weapons and stuff, so she always feels underwhelming when you go from him to, or from Bayek to Aya. Their relationship is, we'll say, tumultuous, I guess, at times. They're united in this quest to avenge their son's murder, but it goes from, you kill off the people you think did it, or who are responsible, and then there's another layer of it, and then another layer, and then another layer.
Mm-hmm.
And on top of that, Aya is trying to get Cleopatra onto the throne as Pharaoh of Egypt. So, they grow apart as the game goes on, and it doesn't really pay off as well as I think it should, because Bayek, like I said, has this warmth to him, and you feel him as a character, but the relationship between the two of them almost seems a little forced from the get-go, and it never really kind of goes beyond that. And that's like, it seems ridiculous that I'm like complaining about the character growth in an Assassin's Creed game, but like Bayek is genuinely a good character. It might be like my favorite character in a video game this year. and could just be surprised that there's anything to him, I suppose. That's
Sure.
my biggest
Yeah.
thing. It's like, wow, there's something to this guy. I actually like him. And whoever the voice actor is for him, I mean, just absolutely great job. Like, I mean, he does, like I said, just that thing where he talks to himself very solemnly. He doesn't oversell it, and that is a moment that I think would be very tough for a voice actor to nail exactly the right connotation that he was trying to invoke, and I think he did it perfectly. And there's a bunch of other areas where, I mean, he is just, absolutely rage filled when he finds something else. I mean, his voice, like, not just like the tone, but his like actual like timbre of his voice changes. He's normally like a very deep voice, kind of like, I don't want to say like grizzly kind of voice, but when he gets like upset and enraged, he gets like very high, not very high pitched, but higher pitched, to the point that it's like, is this the same guy doing this shit? So, like I said, there's a lot to Bayek that I like, but the relationship between he and his wife that sort of plays out is like, oh, okay, I don't know. There's just something there that just doesn't add up, and it's kind of disappointing just because of how much I ended up liking Bayek.
Okay.
And then my biggest problem, I suppose, with the end of it was Aya's, we'll say, literal play to camera as she pulls up her hood as they form the Assassins, guild or whatever.
Yeah,
she pulls up her hood and then disappears in a crowd or whatever, and it's like,
Okay.
it's a literal play to camera. Like I don't know. Like the thing is, like, she wrote a letter to Bayek, and
Wait, is this like the end of the game?
Yeah. She writes a letter to Bayek just saying, and we are the Assassins or whatever. Yeah. I mean, it's called Assassin's Creed Origins. They start the fucking Assassin's Creed or the Assassin's Guild or whatever.
Yeah, it's the name. It's called Origins.
Yeah. So, she pulls up her, she's writing this letter to Bayek, and she pulls up her hood and then just disappears in camera as she's reading, or as this letter is being read by Bayek in Aya's voice. And then, like I said, she plays to camera, and I'm like, oh, come on, they've never done this throughout this game. And it's like the one moment that I don't want it to happen is at the end, and they do it. It's just like, okay.
Okay.
So,
I have a few questions.
Please.
It's mostly me thinking out loud about the thing, because there are a few changes in this game from previous Assassin's Creed that make it kind of its own thing. Okay, first off, combat. Combat is a relatively big change from what it has been. It used to be a very counter-based, Batman-ish style system, and now it is, from what I understand, more Dark Souls-y, actually, in a way, in terms of it's very parry-based.
I would say sort of. It's a very simple combat system. You can literally just kind of hack and slash. There's still a dodge button that you need to utilize quite a bit.
Okay.
But there's also different levels of shields that you can, as long as the the person that you're fighting against has that up, you can't break through it with a normal attack. You have to use a stronger attack. But then there's some soldiers later down in the game that have bigger shields, and you have to charge that thing to break through.
Okay.
Yeah.
So like I said, how many times are you doing that charge? Is that just a thing you're doing a lot? You end up doing a lot in the game?
No. I wouldn't say like the charge one doesn't happen very often. In the end game, you might do it. I would say maybe let's say twice during a battle, 3 times during a battle. So it doesn't feel too weird, but it's just sort of like okay, we introduced this mechanic and let's add a little to it, I guess. Now, when you do the charge, it will, if you have like a weaker enemy, it will just knock them on their ass. So you can just, right after that, just go into normal attacks while they're sitting there struggling trying to get up. So it does kind of add a little to it, but I don't know. It's a weird thing. I'm not too big on it. So I do kind of prefer the original parrying from the, like, I guess the first few Assassin's Creed games, just because I enjoyed getting in that rhythm and just looking like a total badass as you're sitting there, just being surrounded by guys and just like, dodging all of these attacks.
Yeah. Like, see, I think this is my biggest turnoff from the game, and I have a few, but this is easily the biggest one, is because like you said, I liked, some people thought they thought the combat in Assassin's Creed was too easy. And I just thought, it made you feel like a humongous badass. It made you feel like like a murdering machine, because you would just run through dudes in the most in a bunch of gruesome ways too. And there were a lot of animations for murdering people in that game.
Yeah.
In those games, and I really enjoyed the combat in those games. I really do, and I am kind of bummed. it kind of bums me out that they changed it. And I understand that you gotta mix things up. You gotta but I think they went too far in the other direction.
I agree. And then there's not even something that even goes back to the original one where there's a proper counter move to it. So
yeah, I haven't played. I probably am gonna end up playing this game. But that's been my biggest turn off. Okay, question 2 is about the loot system, the blatantly Destiny loot system. They don't even try to hide the fact that it's like
they even use the same color schemes, right? Am I right?
Yeah, it's basic. They and it's the same like screen layout. They even use the same cursor. Like it's the Destiny loot system.
Okay,
it's what I've heard is that you get a lot of loot in this game. You're constantly getting loot, and it doesn't feel special eventually getting like all this high level gear. Is the gear loop worth a loot system in this game? Because in the previous games, again, all my questions are based on things that I liked about the previous games and why in these games. So in the previous games, I liked that there were armor sets that you would go after, and there were weapons that this weapon is just better than that weapon. These are just some better weapons, or maybe they changed up your style a little bit. But I didn't really have to look at stats too much. It was mostly aesthetic purposes in the end. But it was a very light gear system, and
there was a very clear upgrade path with those.
Yeah, and this one is a loot game. So do you enjoy the loop of getting loot in this game?
I'm going to say that it's definitely not a strong point.
Okay.
I don't think it's a particular weakness, especially like once you unlock the ability to like as soon as you kill something, it will just automatically get you the loot. Where early in the game you do have to press Y to pick it up, basically, or triangle or whatever it is. You have to press a button to pick it up. A lot of it for a good chunk of the game is just literal junk. Occasionally, as you come across stronger enemies, you'll get better gear. But for the most part, like I would find myself latching onto something, holding onto it for a while, and then upgrading it because its little stat bonuses were just better, basically, than what I was finding. And upgrading stuff can be an expensive thing. So there's, like I said, I don't play a lot of loot games, so I'm sure this is probably a pretty common thing amongst these things. But you get in that like thing of like, well, do I sell this for the money to upgrade this, with some of the new stuff you get, or do I break it down for its components so I can upgrade my, your armor, your assassin's blade, your I guess, God, I don't know what it's called, but like the thing the stabilizer thing you use, the stabilizer gauntlet, I guess, for arrows, for better aiming with your arrows, or the pouch for your arrows. It's like, I don't know. It's this weird thing of trying to figure out like, okay, well, which one's going to work better for me in the long run? And eventually you end up with, the legendary, the yellow gear, or the gold gear, I guess. And, that stuff just supplants everything else. I mean, just plain and simple, there's nothing to it. And so this stuff is also gated by level. I don't know how it is in like other loot games, but
yeah, it's usually high level stuff. Most gear, even lower level stuff, is usually like sometimes it's just like you have to be this level to wear this, and it's just that's common.
Yeah, so. and that's even the common to like rare type items. It's there. It just I never found myself in those issues with those. So like the blue and purple tiers, I never found an issue with that. Whereas as I started beating some of the like those roaming like mercenary guys I was telling you about, I would get some some of the legendary equipment drops. Some of that stuff's level 40, and like I said, I'm level 38, and I still can't equip it. So, but I've gotten a few weapons that I don't really feel like I need them particularly. One of the swords you get towards the end of the game, if not it's like right towards the end of the game. It's very strong in damage, and it's probably like naturally where you would be level at. That's where that's where its level level usage is, and it sets enemies on fire.
Oh,
so it's pretty great.
That sounds all right.
Like busting out this like flaming sword and just like lighting these guys on fire, and then it sort of does a little bit of that Far Cry 2 thing where if they're on fire and there's some grass, it'll start lighting the rest of the stuff on fire, or there's oil laying around, it'll light the other people on fire too. So it's kind of great that way.
Yeah, we need more Far Cry 2 fire in our games.
Yeah.
But okay, and I think I can. I have another question to ask, but I think it kind of ties into my last one anyway. So, okay, in previous Assassin's Creeds, they were essentially open world games, but they were very contained ones. They are not the kind of open world game this game is. This game, and this game is huge from what I've seen and what I understand.
Yes.
It's a very large game.
It is.
Does this game earn its like how big it is, or does it feel empty and kind of unnecessary for how big for this game to be this big? Like, do you feel like does it feel worth it traveling in this world, like in Breath of the Wild? Like, I rarely ever wanted the fast travel because I just wanted to. I liked running around the world or even in The Witcher, which is I think this game takes a lot of inspiration from The Witcher. I think they even said that themselves when they were early development. But does the world feel like a place, or does it feel like a video game open world?
Well, considering I guess this is based on a place, it's a little hard to discern that. You kind of have to remember, like, the vast expanses that you're actually covering, I guess, in reality between the two, or between two places at that, and how they try to, I guess, circle that square, for want of a better term.
Okay.
In that sense, for how far a lot of these cities are actually from each other. You can't have, Bayek sitting there riding a camel or a horse for, 20 minutes and not seeing anything because he's traveling through the desert. But, you also do want to have some sort of sense of how big Egypt actually is and how varied the terrain is in certain parts of Egypt, where, you're going through the areas that are, the Nile Delta areas, which are very lush and almost like a jungle to a point, to just the Sahara, where there's literally like nothing. And then there's just the deserts that are more like New Mexico, where it's just like, it's a rocky, kind of sandy, just kind of like, this is kind of dumpy area.
I lived in Vegas. Yeah, it's very similar kind of.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah. If you lived in Vegas, you know what New Mexico desert basically is.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, very similar.
Yeah. So it does enough filling in of stuff that you can find as you go. It's not. Let me see.
No.
I think it gets back to like what I was talking about with the side quests. A lot of the side quests, there's a very simple like routine of what you go through with some of these things. Like some of the, I guess, plotting points are interesting, but what they actually are as far as like quest goes, it's pretty, we'll say, limited in what you can do. I mean, there's go find these things for me. Go kill this guy for me. With that kid one, that was the only one I think I found that was like jump off of an area for us. But
okay.
It's, I guess when you get down to it, like side quests, there really is only a few things you can do. And I think it does it as best as it can. I'm just not overly impressed with it, with the side quests in general. Okay. As far as how much, or how big that world is, does it earn it? I would say yeah, because I don't know if it would have felt right otherwise.
Okay.
Like you can see the Great Pyramids from a distance, and then, if you could hop over there, on a horse in like a minute and a half, it would feel wrong. But I mean, you can see them literally from like, it feels like, 100 miles away. And, of course at the time, these were the largest structures on the face of the earth. So it was like, I don't know. It could do with a little consolidation, but at the same time, I don't know that I would want any, because it feels like it needs it.
Is there stuff out there? Is there stuff to find out there, like loot, like things to loot in caves, and or like oases or oases? I don't know. I don't know how to pluralize that.
Multiple things of oasis.
Yeah. So, are there like cool things to find out there in the middle of nowhere that they don't point you to? Or is it just...
it does suffer from that Ubisoft thing of like where everything is, there's just about something to point you to. Now, one of the things I didn't mention is you have literal eagle vision. You have yes you do. You have an eagle that will you can use as your scout basically, and he controls very much like a drone because you can speed him up. You can have him hover, which aside from hummingbirds, birds can't do. So but then as his perception goes up, he'll be able to pinpoint stuff a little bit more accurately. You can find, like, when you go to areas, like a new area you discover, it will show you where the treasure is. It will show you like secret entrance points to certain areas. You know, like an underground cave that can lead up through like a river or something. It's kind of cool, but at the same time, it's like, I don't know. So,
okay, all right, yeah, those are all my big worries about the game, and then
all in all, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. I really did. Yeah. But it does come with a lot of caveats that, like this, like I said, if this is an Assassin's Creed game that, you know, you're coming back to after a long hiatus like me, it's going to feel very different. There's a great bit of satisfaction in exploring Egypt, and, you know, climbing to the top of the Great Pyramids is pretty fucking cool. I'm not going to deny that. And seeing some of the, and seeing some of the monuments and the temples there with some of the garish painting that they have on there is kind of cool too. And then seeing how Egypt has adapted to, you know, one foreign invader after another, with, you know, Greece coming in and, you know, basically conquering them, and then having, you know, Rome sort of start their conquering of them now. So it's kind of interesting to see these cultures kind of mesh together, and it does an okay job of showing that. I'm not going to fault the game for that, because, man, that is something that is tough to convey in a video game that's, you know, maybe 30 hours long at its, I would say, not at its peak, but, you know, if you're doing a bunch of side quests and going through the main story at a decent clip, I would say about 30 hours is kind of around what you're looking at. I could probably easily get like 40, 50 hours out of this if I was going to do all the side shit, but I don't know. Like I said, the game does an admirable job of trying to show you what that is like for these people, because the Egyptians just keep getting shit on by one invader after the next, it seems like, and that's where Bayek kind of comes in as sort of the protector of the people, but he even protects the Greeks, I guess, too, that are part of the Egypt culture now. So
okay,
so yeah, like I said, it's a weird game as far as like recommendations go. It really just depends on your ability to withstand the onslaught of Ubisoft stuff. So, because, like I said, there's a lot of side quest stuff that is just there, and, you know, it's, I don't know.
Yeah, I think their open worlds have burnt me out, so I don't know. Like, yeah, I'm probably gonna get around to it. Cause I'm in the mood for an Assassin's Creed, but yeah, the changes in this one are kind of turning me off. But
yeah, like I said, coming from some of my favorite memories of the first Assassin's Creed, or, you know, sitting in like Jerusalem and just having, like, you know, knights sitting there attacking Altair, and just me dodging left, right, you know, attacking, you know, doing 2 sword swipes on somebody, and then just, you know, doing that parry thing of just like, you know, slight, like, you know, shuffle off to the side, and then just an instant kill on that guy that was attacking you. Those are some of my favorite moments in like the Assassin's Creed games as far as combat goes, and there's none of that here, and that's very disappointing.
Yeah.
So, I think I've said about all I could really say about it for now.
Yeah.
So,
and all right, that's Assassin's Creed Origins.
Yeah. I will say this: there are parts of, I mean, of course, I got to bring up the music somehow. There are parts of the soundtrack that I really enjoy, because they add a very distinct, like, you know, Egyptian flavor to it. Like, when you hear it, it definitely sounds like something that makes you think of, like, I guess this isn't ancient Egypt. This is, I don't know what you would call it. I mean, I guess 2,000 years ago at this point is ancient, but
yeah, it's a little bit of it's a little old.
Now, let me make one recommendation to you. If you ever get a Mac, don't empty the recycling bin with headphones on. It is a weird sound.
Noted.
It's very, I don't know. It almost sounds like a Silent Hill monster crawling for like a split second. It is just, I don't know. It's a weird sound.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, I guess we're back. So.
And we're back.
We're back, baby. Anyway, so this, news is, we'll say, extremely light, and some of it's depressing. So we just decided we're not going to talk about some of it. So we're going to talk about other stuff that aren't video games. First off, I think we're going to do this later down the road, but I definitely want to talk about Blade Runner a little bit. John, you had been singing this movie's praises to me for a while, and man, do I fucking regret not going to see this thing earlier than when I did.
It's really good.
Yeah.
I like the first Blade Runner well enough. I am very critical of it in some aspects.
Yeah.
But it is a fine movie. The sequel is I've seen it twice in theaters. I feel confident in saying it's one of my favorite sci-fi movies of all time.
Yeah.
Now that I've seen it, I've seen it through twice in theaters. It is, and it tackles one of my favorite subjects when done correctly. It's overdone, but when done correctly, the notion of like, because like the first Blade Runner is like, our androids are replicants people too, basically. It's like boil it down to like the
nitty gritty of what that movie is.
Yeah. It's like, and now they've answered that question, and now it's one of a question I find more interesting is, what is the nature of existence, and like what does it mean to be a human? And they tackle that in a lot of different ways.
Yeah.
With a lot of different styles of character. I think what's his hologram girlfriend? What's her name?
I forget.
Joy.
That sounds right. Yeah.
Yeah. She's one of the more fascinating characters I've seen in a movie in a long time, in my opinion. I think they do some very cool stuff with her. And visually, the movie's incredible.
It is a hell of a spectacle to look at, and
yeah,
this is one like I definitely do want to go. Like I want to watch it again and a little bit more carefully. But man, there is a lot of we'll say like color tones that I think are trying to apply things that I really want to see if I can catch on the second pass, because I didn't start noticing things until a little later.
Yeah, they use color a lot in that movie. And so much so that I remember the in and like stills instead of like scenes, just from like just like certain shots just with like a color tone over it, like one specific. I remember one specifically when he's walking out in the garage, and it's like a green hue over everything while he's walking out in the snow, and it's very striking.
Yeah.
It's weird. The movie is very. It's a huge spectacle, but it's also very minimalist in a lot of ways too, which is, I think.
Yeah. There's a lot going on without a lot actually happening when you get right down to it.
Yeah, it puts out a lot of questions, and it never tells you the right answer to a question, I feel like.
And that ambiguity is like something I love.
Yeah. Yeah, I love it too. That's what I love about that topic of the nature of existence, is it's such an ambiguous question, and they treat it like an ambiguous question. And like I said, his relationship with Joy is there's so many different ways to interpret it by the end of the movie that I love. I think Ryan Gosling does a fantastic job. He's very much his Ryan Gosling character.
Yeah.
But I think it fits. I'm
all right with that.
Yeah, I like Ryan Gosling, so I think he is a much better main character than Deckard is in Blade Runner. I'm gonna say that.
Yeah,
I think he is.
I would agree.
So, yeah.
In either Blade Runners, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, it's not a spoiler because he's in the movie from the fucking trailer. But
his name's kind of in the credits, for God's sakes. So
although I find him more likable in this movie than I did in the original, personally.
Yeah.
That's again, I don't. That's personal opinions. But I after watching it twice, I feel like there is maybe one scene in the movie that it's if not superfluous, too long for its own good, and it involves Jared Leto's character, who is a god complex character, like to the nth degree. So, but like it's for being 2.5 hours, almost 3 hours long, it does not. I feel like it doesn't. Like there are a lot of quiet, contemplative moments, but I feel like they aren't wasting your time with them. I feel like they're very important. They're very important for the themes of the movie.
I can't really think of anything specific that I felt like, well, I could probably done without this, and I don't feel like it moved at a good enough clip and still allowed you to process and think, which I really appreciated. Because, like I said, my issue with the first Blade Runner probably just stemmed from when I saw it. I mean, I saw it as, I don't want to say young, but I was pretty young when I saw it, and it was just a cool action movie to me, at that point. Like, oh, hey, this is kind of in a dark, gritty future with, he's chasing down these robots and killing them. It's kind of cool, not even catching the undertones of, oh, is Deckard a replicant, so.
Yeah.
And, as I got older and started appreciating what it was doing more, like I said, I don't know, there was stuff in that movie that I was like, oh, I don't know if this needed to be here, but like this, I don't know, there was just so much to this movie that I'm very happy that they just let it sit for a moment, because I think that is a very dangerous thing for some movies to do, is let you sit and think for too long. And I think this nailed the timing just right of like, this happens.
It's very hard to do.
And it's very quiet, and you have a moment to like process what happened and give you that chance to like, oh, well, wait, if that, and then that, and then that, and then, it gives you enough time to process it and give you that moment of, oh shit, and then moves on. Like, I don't know how it manages that for every thinking process, but it seems to be just long enough that you could be maybe not the brightest at picking up that stuff, and still I think it leaves you enough time to pick it up. It did a fantastic job of pacing those moments out.
Yes, it's so hard to do too. It's like pacing is such an important part of movies, and because you have a very small window of time to get your thing across. So, and Anthony Villeneuve, I don't remember his last name. I think is French, and I thought it was Spanish at first. I think it's French.
I was gonna say you started sounding like Anthony Villeneuve there for a second there.
Yeah, no, it's like I forget how to actually say his last name properly, so I apologize. But he directed Arrival, which I really liked, and Sicario, which is solid. So he is a very talented director, and I'm very.
You know what?
Yeah.
I did not know that. Yeah. Okay, that explains a little bit. Okay.
Yeah, like you can see a lot of I think you can see a lot of the Arrival in it, and in Sicario. I think you can see a lot of things from those movies in this movie.
Okay. And because I haven't seen Arrival, but I've seen Sicario, and that I definitely I get it. Okay, it makes a lot of sense to me now.
He's kind of like a up and coming superstar director at this point. So he's like, and even like the flashes of action in this movie are so fast that you always know what's going on, because it's hard to explain. Like when they remind you that K is a fucking machine at times, and he is much stronger than humans. And much more dangerous. They do that very well. I know we aren't going to do a deep dive, but because I want to talk about things, but I don't want to spoil anything. I don't want to spoil anything about this movie. I feel like it's even things that aren't really spoilers. I don't want to spoil. I just want people to experience it all. But
this is a recommendation from us to go watch this movie.
It's my favorite movie of the year, and it's been a strong year for movies, at least for my taste in movies.
And see, that's and coming from me, like as a guy who doesn't really like to go to the theater very much, just because of just the prices, and we've talked about this before, and just like how loud mixes sound these days, and I don't know, I loved this movie. I easily my favorite movie this year. I mean, granted, I can't even really think what else I've seen this year. I mean, so that doesn't really help. But yeah, or movie that came out this year. You know, I've seen a few at home, but yeah.
Yeah, I really like up until I saw Blade Runner. My favorite movie of the year was Get Out. I still think it's a fantastic movie. That movie is also a masterclass in pacing.
Mm-hmm.
It's a super tight, like 2 hour, like hour and a half, 2 hour, whatever. I forget how long it is, but it's like super tight, and it tells a great story, and it has super great build. So that's another movie I highly recommend is Get Out if you haven't seen it. I know it's kind of been it's kind of a lot of people would recommend it, but yeah, I agree, it's very good. And
Isn't it up for a comedy or something like that?
Yeah, I believe it got nominated for like comedy and Golden Globes, and that movie there was some very funny stuff in that movie, but it is not a comedy.
Yeah.
That, I mean, I feel like calling it a horror movie or a thriller is kind of it doesn't quite do it the service that it deserves. It is a lot of things. It is a very good movie. It is something I think everyone should see.
Yeah.
And
yeah. That's I don't know. They do these weird categories sometimes, and I think it's just to get something in there. Like they put Orange Is the New Black in the comedy category.
Yeah, I could see that more so than Get Out. Sure.
Yeah, but just based on, you know, like some comedians I've I listen to on podcasts. Man, that show does. I mean, just I don't know. I haven't seen it just because it just didn't really interest me.
I've seen the first season. It's okay.
It does not strike me as something that should be in a comedy. I think Jimmy Pardo of Never Not Funny put it best. They were talking about it and he goes, "Yeah, funny." It's like, that's what I think of every time I want to laugh. It's like, okay, well, yeah, you brings up a point. So yeah, just everything I've heard about Get Out doesn't sound like it's a comedy. So
no,
like
it's weird place for it. But yeah. Yeah, and then other movie, John Wick 2, best action movie of the year, easily. It's other movies I recommend to people. Now that we're at getting at the end of the year, like Star Wars is the last big one. I mean, it's Star Wars, so it's probably the biggest one if you want to be real.
Yeah, And I think I don't think this one is going to change your mind if you like Star Wars. This will do it for you. If you don't like Star Wars, this is not going to do it for you. So it's sort of just Yeah.
So. Logan, very good.
Was that this year?
Wonder Woman, Logan was this year.
Okay, yeah, I like Logan. I did enjoy that one.
Wonder Woman, I think, is the best superhero movie this year. I really like Wonder Woman, even with its weak, like final act. I think it's very like it was very refreshing after the barrage of Marvel movies because they just become so similar at this point.
Well, and then the let's say average to crap that the DC stuff has been. Yeah. It was nice to get a good one.
Yeah, it was, and a very good one too. Like it wasn't even like, oh, this is pretty good. It was like, this is a really good movie, and I can't believe this came out of the DC stuff. And that's like the only other one. Like I think second best one is probably Man of Steel. That's like a soulless fucking movie.
Yeah,
Man of Steel. But I liked Baby Driver a lot. It's hard to recommend that movie now because of Kevin Spacey, but I mean, I really liked it. It's a very cool movie, and does a lot of cool stuff with music. Man, they should just like figure out a way to just digitally impose John Hamm's face onto him. Because just two John Hams.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. Double that John Hams, man. I'm all about John Hamm, man. Love John Hamm. So.
Yeah, John Hamm's great. He's great in that movie too. Have you seen it?
No. Let me tell you, John Hamm. I don't know how the fuck he does it, but he's handsome. He's a great actor, and he's genuinely funny. He's not one of those guys like, oh, he's funny for an actor. Like he's been on Never Not Funny, which, I mentioned it before, but like, one of the fastest minds in comedy, and he can keep up with Jimmy Pardo, and it's just like, holy shit. I mean, it's just like, what? Okay, well, great. I know where a lot of my stuff went when they were making somebody. Thanks, John. Never mind the Hamaconda he's got going on too. Oh, God, it's depressing. It's like, do you have anything like wrong with you? I mean, I don't know, like irritable bowel syndrome or something. Jesus Christ, man. It's like, you're nice, you're funny, you're handsome, you're a great actor in either serious or comedic roles, and it's like, oh, okay, great, and you've got a baby's arm hanging from your crotch, so it's like great.
Yeah, he's a perfect human being.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. But I've never heard anybody say, "Oh, John Hamm, what an asshole!" Just John Hamm, God, what a sweet guy he is. It's like, fuck, really? God damn it.
He's got a lot of range too. He doesn't get a lot of. I don't think he gets enough respect for that. Like he's yeah.
But yeah, anyway, yeah, like I said, just superimpose his head on Kevin Spacey. That's fine.
Well, yeah. What else came out this year? Guardians 2 was okay. Spider-Man was disappointing for me.
Yeah, you know,
a lot of people liked it.
Yeah, that was my thing. Like I enjoyed it. It just I went in with some expectations. I think
it's not a bad movie. Like it's hard for me to explain. Like I am without getting into the weeds of why I'm tired of the Marvel formula. It is that's like the most basic I can say is I am tired of these superhero comedies like all with and everything's a team up now. It doesn't even feel special when like superheroes team up anymore. Like the Avengers was so cool because they built up to it for so long.
Yeah.
and it delivered. But now it just like I mean, the third Captain America movie was a team up movie. It was like people forget Civil War was a Captain America movie and not an Avengers movie. And
hell, I forgot about it until you just mentioned it. So
yeah, like Winter Soldier's great, and that's probably that's probably the best Marvel movie they've done since Avengers was Winter Soldier, and that was like 2 or 3 years ago at this point.
Let me
looking forward to looking forward to Black Panther.
Let me tell you this the new one that's coming out with Thanos in it, right? Isn't it getting to the point that that Black Widow is just starting to seem a little ridiculous that she's in this anymore?
You mean like how is she gonna help?
Yeah. Hey, I got some guns. Cool. Great. I don't know. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love Scarlett Johansson. But man, she is starting to look like, hey guys, you know, she's very much looking like the Me Too character now. I don't know. It's like I don't understand how you can compete on a cosmic scale. Like even Captain America to a certain point. Like you're just a really, really fit dude. You know. I don't know. It just I don't know. I mean, you know, I don't want to talk about, you know, having these things grounded, but I mean, you know, Black Widow just seems like, I mean, she's just very good at what she does, but you know, she's not really anything particularly special, I guess. Like,
I mean, I agree, and I feel the same way about Hawkeye too, but you know.
Okay, God, okay. Well, that's how like superfluous I think he feels, is like I forgot he was even in these things for the most part.
Yeah, it's I feel like it's just diminishing returns. I haven't seen Thor. I'm seeing Thor on Tuesday, actually, after we record this. Tuesday after we record this. I've heard it's basically a comedy, so yeah. I'm going in with those expectations.
I have heard good things about how funny it is. So I don't know.
Yeah, and I have too. But I feel like I've gotten to the point where it's funny, and I'm like, I realize you're just trying I don't know. It doesn't feel natural, and although I've heard it's like almost all of it is like improv. I've heard a lot of it's improv, which is kind of cool.
Okay.
But I don't know. I can't judge it yet. I haven't seen it. Maybe I'll. I saw. I've seen Justice League. Did you see it?
No. I have so little to no interest in that.
Yeah, it's better than Batman vs Superman, I think.
Ring an endorsement. Okay. Let's go ahead and retweet yourself on the air here. What did you say?
Justice League is totally okay.
Yeah. Okay. There you go. I think I don't know if you need to say any more than that. I mean, let me tell you. Like, I took my daughter to see Wonder Woman because I wanted her to see something kind of cool like that, like, you know, like a woman superhero. I am not spending, like, you know, movie theater money to go watch that for my daughter. We will pick it up on Blu-ray when it comes out. Maybe we'll just rent it at Redbox first, and then if she's into it, cool. If not, nope.
Yeah, that movie is a fucking mess. It is. It has more heart than Batman vs Superman did, which I think makes it a more enjoyable experience. I also don't hate Batman vs Superman.
I thought it was. I'm right in that camp with you of like, it's okay. It's not awful, but it's not. But it's not good.
I think there are awful aspects to it for sure. I think Jesse Eisenberg is a fucking train wreck in that movie.
Oh, good. Yeah.
Don't even get me started. I'm pretty sure they just reused the cave troll from Fellowship of the Ring for Doomsday. I still stand by the fact that it is literally the same thing. It is. It's but Justice League, like, because Zack Snyder, I believe his son died during production of this.
Yeah.
I know he had a fan. And so he took a leave of absence, and Joss Whedon to the rescue, which is, pick fucking two polar opposite directors in terms of superhero movies. Like, you can just tell which scenes were done by which director at that point, because it definitely has a lot of one-liners added into it.
Do you think if it didn't have that, and it just had one coherent voice, maybe it would have turned out better?
Because that one coherent voice would have been Zack Snyder's voice, right?
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Would it have been any better?
It's hard. It also, I don't inherently hate Zack Snyder movies. I liked 300 when it came out. I haven't seen it in a long time. I think I've seen it once since then. It's a cool movie. It's and this is going to be divisive, but I like Watchmen quite a bit.
Never saw it. The source material never interested me at all, so I just totally skipped it over.
It is that the source material is unfilmable. I don't know why they decided to film it, but I do. Putting that aside, I think I really enjoyed them. I really enjoyed that movie. It is probably it's one of the closer movies that looks like that, kind of from the way it's framed and shot and colored and all that. It looks like the most like a comic book come to life.
Mm-hmm.
Also, one of the greatest montages is at the beginning of that movie, over Bob Dylan's "Times They Are Changing." It's a fantastic montage. So I like that. Sucker Punch is an awful movie.
Never heard anything good.
Man of Steel, it's
okay.
It's the color gray in a movie. It's the movie form of the color gray. So that's what that movie is. So I don't know if Joss Whedon directed it by himself. I don't know. It would be a more coherent movie. So I guess from a purely technical standpoint, yes, it would be a better movie if only one director directed it. And also, if the studio hadn't forced them to make it 2 hours long, it had to be 2 hours long because of all the complaints about how long Batman vs Superman is, and Man of Steel, I think, also. And even so, I believe a lot of people prefer the director's cut of Batman vs Superman, the 3 hour long version of that movie. Yeah, I've heard that people because they prefer the director's cut, and it makes a lot of scenes better, I guess. Okay. I have not seen that, so I cannot. I will say I think the director's cut of this movie will be better than the actual movie, because you can see where the cuts. You can see the edits in this movie.
Okay, that's awful.
Yeah, you can as long as if you have any sense of how movies are made and edited and you can definitely see it. And also, the budget for this movie is surprisingly poor. It's crazy to me that this is their Avengers, and even though they're doing it in reverse basically of what Marvel did. And there are times where you're like, that's a bad green screen.
Great.
That's a really bad green screen.
Well, hopefully Wonder Woman 2 turns out good.
Yeah. I hope so too. I really
Is that going to take place in World War II?
I don't know. There is a tease at the end of this movie that doesn't. It's not a direct tease of Wonder Woman at all, but it's a tease. I think that will give an idea of villain wise where the next one's probably going to go.
Okay. Now I'm going to be completely honest. I am not familiar at all with anybody, for the most part, from the DC universe. I'm barely literate in the Marvel one, so it's like, okay, I mean, yeah, it's just, my biggest thing of the DC universe, like being introduced to a ton of characters, was during the Death of Superman thing, and I was like, oh, I don't know who this guy is. I don't know who this guy is. I don't know who this guy is. Holy shit! All I know is Batman and Superman. Okay, fuck.
Yeah, I have a decent enough working knowledge of both to have conversations about them. I enjoy them. I am by no means a comic guy. Comics are daunting, monstrous things. And I have tried to get like apps, like for digital comics and stuff. I've tried to get into them, and it's just like you don't even know where to start, man.
Yeah,
it's just so. I don't understand how people get into them in the first place, because like unless you started in the 50s. Like it's like so, but I do like superheroes quite a bit. I mean, I really liked Injustice 2, and that's all DC characters.
Until the Ninja Turtles come out.
Does DC not own Ninja Turtles?
I don't know who owns them.
Yeah, because they were a comic, as
far as I remember, like I thought Nickelodeon still owned them.
The comic was they initially were a comic book before they became a show. That's also so cool that they're doing the Ninja Turtles for that game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm trying to find like.
It's
Man, I don't know. It's
NetherRealm does guest characters right. They know what they're doing. So that's some news for everyone, I guess. Ninja Turtles coming to Injustice 2. But they haven't shown them gameplay-wise. I don't know if it's going to be one character you switch between or whatever.
Yeah.
But
so Mirage apparently owns the comic book.
Mirage.
They're still around.
Okay. Maybe.
Okay.
Sure.
Okay, well, okay, forget it. Who cares? They're coming into Injustice 2, and that's gonna make me play the game. So cool.
But they won't be in the films, I don't think. I guess.
Oh God. I guess. Okay. Don't give anybody ideas, John. Please.
Aren't they doing a Transformers G.I. Joe movie?
Are they?
They are.
There's two. Those are two series I could give less fucks about.
I love Transformers, like not the movies, but I mean I like old Transformers stuff. But G.I. Joe.
Liked them when I was in the single digits, and then I tried to watch anything of them, and I'm like, ooh, this is dumb. So I like the idea. I mean, giant robots, transforming into. No, I just like the giant robot thing. Never mind. I don't really care about the transforming thing.
Okay.
Talk myself right out of that one. Just give me Gundams.
But yeah, Justice League's a mess of a movie, but I still enjoyed it. Because I like those characters, and it was cool seeing them on screen.
Yeah.
Except for Flash. Flash sucked.
I can run really fast.
No, I like the character of the Flash, but the casting was really, really bad.
Oh, is that the same guy from like the TV show or whatever?
No, it's Ezra Miller. He is just so whiny, and just like just so unlikable. I don't. They made Aquaman. I've heard a lot of referred to him as Aqua Bro, and he's a very likable character. They had to make Aquaman. They had to work hard to make Aquaman cool because of all the jokes about him now.
Yeah.
So
he basically looks like Chris Hemsworth now. I
mean, and they use Khal Drogo for Aquaman, so I mean they aren't fucking around.
Yeah.
So. I think he does a good job. Cyborg, surprisingly, a good.
Wait, that's that guy's name is Cyborg?
Yeah, the character Cyborg.
I was going to ask you who the Cyborg dude was.
No, his name's Cyborg.
Fuck.
He's actually a very.
Fuck you. Cyborg.
Oh, you mean the company that has the name Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, and
those came out in the 50s.
Above Cyborg?
They came out in the 50s. I can sort of excuse that bullshit.
Victor Stone, better known as Cyborg, is a very integral character in the Justice League, in the Dark Side stuff. So he's actually a very plot relevant character. He's not just and we've got Cyborg too. Like he's very important to the plot. So I think that was good that they did that. And seems to be well casted. A little moody but I think towards the end he started to become a little more lighthearted. And Affleck still does a solid Batman. I'm
rich.
Yeah, yeah. That's a good line. That's a good line that they fucking ruined in the trailer. Like that's like
no. Say that for the movie. We need something to get people here.
Yeah, like it's a good line.
Well, I mean, I guess that was how they got them there. It's like, hey, this might have lines like this throughout. Come on in.
I think Affleck is a good Bruce Wayne. I don't have a problem with Christian Bale as Bruce Wayne. I think he's a good Bruce Wayne. I will take the argument that his Batman, his voice is a poor choice, and the voice. It does not bother me that much, honestly.
No, I really don't mind it too much.
I think those movies are fantastic. Me and Connor had a discussion about Dark Knight on Twitter a few weeks ago, and I think Christian Bale is a really good Bruce Wayne. I've had this argument a lot. I had to defend I've defended Tobey Maguire's Peter Parker and Christian Bale's Batman.
Man, I don't know. That seems like actors you shouldn't have to defend in their roles. Like Tobey Maguire, I thought was a good fit.
I've found multiple people that think that hated him as Peter Parker, and first of all, Spider-Man 2 is a fucking great movie. It's so good. It's like it's so good that it makes Spider-Man 3 even worse by comparison. And that's hard. It's like it's my second favorite superhero movie after the Dark Knight. But yeah, I like those casting choices. I'll say that here now. I didn't know that was a fucking hard stance, but I'm taking it.
I didn't know there were people that thought. I mean, there's always gonna be people that think stuff like it, but I know there was like a vocal group that thought like Tobey Maguire was a shitty Peter Parker. I'm like, no. I mean, he looks like fucking Peter Parker. He's a dork. I mean, he fits. Yeah, he fits that thing pretty well.
Yeah, he's.
What do you want, fucking Dwayne the Rock Johnson as Peter Parker?
Yeah, they're pretty great.
Man, it might not actually be that bad. I'm saying that out loud.
Yeah,
I'd pay to see that.
I honestly, he being in a movie makes me want to go see his movies, and they're generally just terrible movies, but I still want to see him because he's such a likable person.
Yeah,
he's just, like the Rampage trailer. Have you watched the Rampage trailer?
No.
You should watch the Rampage trailer.
Okay, well, I'll check that out after we're done.
Yeah.
Because
boy. It's very neck and neck with the quality of the Jumanji trailer. So.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I saw the Jumanji trailer when I went to go see Pokemon I Choose You with my daughter, and boy, okay.
They really changed the tone of that series with that movie. Yeah, the Jumanji's a good movie. Character Henry Cavill is Superman. I think this is his Superman's in this movie, guys. By the way, they kind of have shown that, and they've not really hidden that fact. But
the fact that his logo is in that never fight alone thing or whatever.
Yeah, he's in this movie. I'm not going to tell you how he gets in this movie, but he's in the movie, and I think this is the closest he's come to Superman doing Superman right. He's very likable, which is like, I feel like that's been the problem with the previous Superman, is he's been so I don't know, empty. There's something missing.
Felt like Superman's always been kind of empty, though. Honestly, like
and he is an inherently hard to write character because he's a bad character. And
I mean, when you basically just have an indestructible force, like. It's like, great.
And they lean into him being an indestructible force in this movie, and they don't shy away from that at all. They don't try to like even out the rest of the team. Like, Superman is fucking Superman in this movie.
Yeah.
So, and I think I actually appreciated that because Superman's a fucking cheat code, and they treat him like a cheat code.
Okay.
But yeah, he seems like he's enjoying being Superman, which is, I think, a very key part of the character Superman, is that he loves what he does, and he doesn't do it out of, I feel like maybe I'm totally wrong. I feel like he doesn't do it out of obligation. He does it because he enjoys doing it. And so, yeah, I rarely like Superman. Like my favorite incarnation of him is when he's when he's a villain in the Injustice series. I think he's way more interesting as a character. Uh, but yeah, and then of course Wonder Woman. They nailed it with Wonder Woman. And she's secretly the most important character they had to get right because she's the woman character.
Yeah.
And treating her as not only equal, but it's possibly the most important member of the team in the end. And when it's all said and done, especially because her movies are good, or her movie is good, I guess.
Yeah, let's not pluralize quite yet.
She was also the best part. She's also probably the best part of Batman vs Superman, in my opinion.
Yeah, it was pretty cool when she showed up. I'm not going to disagree with you there. I was like, oh, cool, somebody I can give a shit about. Okay.
She actually sold me on the character in that movie, and then at least in terms of I thought she was well cast, and then of course she knocked it out of the park in the movie.
Yeah.
But she's still great. So yeah, Justice League. It is a cast of good characters amidst a mess of a fucking movie. And if you don't inherently like superheroes, you're not gonna like the movie, I don't think.
Yeah.
But if you like superhero stuff, I think you will get enjoyment out of it.
Would you dare to say that this is the world's okayest superhero movie?
I'm trying to think. there's been so fucking many of them at this point. It's like, Ant-Man's pretty okay.
Okay, I've never seen that one.
Doctor Strange is pretty okay.
Isn't that what's his name? Oh God,
Benedict Cumberbatch.
Yeah, I can't stand him. God, every time I see his mug, I just want to punch him. I don't know why. I don't like that guy. I'm just waiting for the sex scandal. I'm like, I've never wanted oh God, please let him be a creep, because God, I do not like looking at him. There was this I forget what it was, and again, this was a couple of years ago when I was going through a real heavy World War I fascination thing. I was trying to consume everything that was related to World War I, and he was in this miniseries thing, and I got about 10 minutes into it, and I just could not stand looking at his face anymore, and I just turned it off. It's like, fuck.
He knows
God.
he's got a face that says, "I know I'm smarter than you."
Yeah. And I just look at him and it's like, oh God, I just want to punch you in the fucking stupid face every goddamn time. It's like I've never understood that smug asshole look that people want to hit just immediately until I saw him. I'm like, nope, I get it.
Yeah, well, his movie's just okay.
Yeah. So fuck you, Cumberbatch.
There's a lot of cool visual stuff in the movie, but overall just okay. Also, this continues the trend of superhero movies having a villain problem. Since this whole this whole DC Marvel universe thing has started, I think the only villain they've gotten right is Loki, and they've even kind of wrote his character into the ground at this point by how much they've had to use him.
Okay. But as a crutch, basically.
Yeah, but fuck, man, the villains suck. Generally, the CG in this guy is better than Cave Troll Doomsday, but I mean it's still not good. And he's just a big CG. He's just a big CG dumbass. His name's Steppenwolf, which is a bad name for a villain, but it's an okay name for a band. But he's a really old character.
Yeah.
So it's like I know of Steppenwolf, but it doesn't change the fact that he's got a dumbass name. So it's I feel like there hasn't been a good villain in a superhero movie since fucking the Joker. And
I think that's also because good villains are hard, maybe even harder to write, because if you don't have a good villain, that plays off a hero. It's
the problem. That's like a double-edged sword, because villains are, in my opinion, the most important part of superhero stuff.
Yeah.
Because you need to have a good foil for what's going on. You need to have a character that delivers stakes to something, and these shitty ass villains are just not doing it. Ultron was okay.
What was it just I'm gonna destroy everything?
Yeah.
Okay, see, and that's I said, that's sort of the thing of just that's every villain, and that's why I think the Joker is such a compelling villain. It's he's just nuts.
Yeah,
I mean,
he's my
his unpredictability in human form.
Yeah, he's my favorite character in comics is because like he's just like he can like he's my favorite comic book character.
Yeah.
So, and
you know that made his his ending in or not ending but like the ending fight sequence in Batman Arkham Asylum to me like all the more disappointing.
Oh man,
it's like I'm just gonna bang it up. It's like what
that's a top 10 game for me, and I always like blank out the end of that game.
Oh, it's like what the fuck, you're hulking out here, dude. The Joker, really? Why he wouldn't do that?
They do actually cool stuff with the effects of him doing that in the later games to kind of make up for the doing it in the first place.
Yeah.
But fuck, that fight sucked.
Oh yeah, it was.
That game is so fucking good too.
Yeah.
And it's just
up until there, and it's like, oh, this is stupid.
Especially as a Batman nerd, like if I'm any superhero nerd, it's definitely Batman and Spider-Man. Those two. Like I'm not fucking reaching. I'm going deep in the woods here, like Batman and Spider-Man.
Yeah.
So, but I really like those characters a lot. Yeah. So.
You're not going like even like second tier X-Men like Psylocke or somebody here.
I mean, my favorite X-Men is Nightcrawler, so that's I guess the little less maybe second tier.
Hey, mine's Gambit, so.
Oh, Gambit.
Well, not me.
Yeah, it's like those. And I think that why I like those characters is obvious because they have the best rogues galleries of any superhero. Mm-hmm. Like you can't touch Batman's unless like the only one that comes close is Spider-Man's. And
even that I don't think is I think it's a not distant but far away second.
It's definitely second, but it's not. I mean the X-Men have Magneto, who's a fantastic villain, but a lot of their other villains aren't that great.
Yeah, I would say most of their other villains aren't that great. They're just sort of like villains of the week, basically, without much purpose.
But luckily, Magneto's a really cool like Nazi allegory, which is he's a really cool character.
Yeah,
there
is a surprising amount of depth to Magneto if you start digging on him, and that's what I think is like really cool.
Yeah, he's like his hypocrisy motivations are really like there's somebody he's a great character.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, Batman's like I love Arkham Asylum because it digs. There's so much Batman history in that game. You can if you do the work of looking for collectibles and stuff. And I think God, bringing it back to games.
yeah. You know that's a game I think it might be interesting to go like revisit on a game club at some point. It's just I've got some like qualms in my head with that game. Like I mean, I guess I haven't played it since it initially came out, and there's just some stuff in there that I think is only going to be exasperated as far as like my feelings coming back to it this much further down the road because I mean, like I said, that Joker thing was stupid, and I really was not a fan of that Riddler shit.
Oh, see, I got every Riddler trophy.
I did too. I just thought they were stupid. Like
I loved it. I thought it went too far in Arkham City. I thought they went too far.
I haven't played that one.
You never played Arkham City?
Mm-mm.
Arkham City is a very good game, but I think it loses the Metroid stuff of Arkham Asylum that made it so awesome. It loses by making open world. It loses some of my favorite parts of Arkham City of Asylum, and but yeah, I love Arkham Asylum, and the combat. Going back to it, like the combat's gonna be worse because they improved upon it over 2 games.
Yeah,
and
then they added the Batmobile.
Yeah, so they added the Batmobile.
By all accounts, is a dumb addition.
It is. It's not that bad. Like
I have heard it gets terrible.
Yeah. It is cool driving the Batmobile down Gotham streets because all the stuff in the road is destructible. So just fucking barreling through the Gotham streets, just destroying like barriers and sidewalks and street lamps and stuff is kind of cool. It's just like, but like doing the hover tank thing, they do that way too much. And then also the twist in Arkham Knight is so painfully obvious, and the fact that they tried to hide how obvious it was with the marketing for the game.
Yeah.
And then it still ended up being the thing you thought it was in the first place.
And don't they hide the true ending behind like a bunch of like like kind of Riddler puzzle shit.
Yeah, the true ending is I looked it up online. I think
that was what I had heard, was like people were just like, I'm not sitting through all this bullshit to get through this. I'm just gonna YouTube it.
No, I was like, I can't do. I don't want to do all these. And yeah, there's a so.
All right, well, I just added that to the Game Club list. So.
Oh yeah, that's a very cool trailer. I'm curious about what Rocksteady does next. I know some people assume they're going to do a superhero thing, but I just
who knows.
I'm sure though. I'm sure they're working on something.
Well, they've got to be. I mean,
yeah.
Diminishing returns maybe on some of those Batman games aside. They sold really well. So
I mean, I played all of them. I played all of them to completion, even Origins.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
I have heard. This is just me. I have heard Origins isn't as bad as people make it out to be.
It has a very good story, actually. Because it deals with the early Batman Joker relationship, and Troy Baker does a fine fucking job replacing Mark Hamill for that game.
Okay.
He's if you are a fan of the Joker, there is a lot of cool Joker stuff in Arkham Origins. Unfortunately that game was very buggy, like very, very buggy, and very iterative and like even the stuff it added like a gadget or two, and they weren't very useful.
Oh, okay. Well, and I guess it's since it was a different studio that did it. I don't know. Like I thought it was weird that they didn't include it with that twin pack that came out for the Xbox One and PS4 recently.
Oh,
I don't know. I don't know why they didn't throw it in there. And then I've heard that those two games are pretty buggy on the PS4 and Xbox One, or they were initially. I don't know about now. It's been months, so.
And those games have had, like, Arkham Knight on PC was a disaster when it came out.
Yeah, Warner Brothers doesn't have a good track record, I think, if I remember right, with PC.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, but I've not seen those remasters. I have almost bought it a few times because I love those games. Mostly for Asylum. I don't know if I'd unless for a game club would be the only reason I'd probably play City again.
Yeah. Well, we'd have to do Asylum first before I decide if I really want to go through the larger scale version of that thing. Because, like I said, I had some issues with that game when it came out, and like I said, what are we, probably like 8-7 years down from that thing now. I think they'd probably only kind of rise to the surface a little bit more quickly for me at this point. So.
Yeah, I'm sure the things that have not aged well about Arkham Asylum.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, we better wrap this up because we've been recording for quite a while here. So
we have.
Yeah, I had a couple of things I wanted to say, but talk about, but now we can say that for the next one. I'm no particular hurry. I'm still working through one of the things that I was going to talk about. So, know what? I do want to throw one quick thing here. I'm rewatching the 7th season of Game of Thrones. Man, we did not need 2 minutes of Sam cleaning the diarrhea montage. That was totally not fucking necessary. That did not need to happen. God damn it! Why the fuck was that happening for so long? 15 seconds, I get it. God damn, it was like a minute and a half of that.
It was very long. Also, last thing I want to mention. I watched The Punisher. It's very good. It's a bit of a slow burn. That character's easy to make lame. They nail it though. Jon Bernthal's awesome. I love Jon Bernthal. But yeah, Punisher definitely worth a watch if you like those Marvel TV shows. Probably my second favorite season after the first Daredevil. I think I like it more than Jessica Jones.
Okay,
but it's very good.
That guy, or the guy that plays the Punisher, he's the guy from Walking Dead, right?
Yes, Jane from Walking Dead.
I've got a hard time separating him and the woman that plays Jessica Jones from their characters in Walking Dead and Breaking Bad, respectively. I see them, and that's who I see.
Wait, Kristen Ritter is in Walking Dead?
No, in Breaking Bad.
Oh, Breaking Bad. I thought you said Walking Dead. I'm sorry.
No, I said Walking Dead and Breaking Bad, respectively.
Yeah.
So,
Jon Bernthal very much. He has a very specific character he's good at, but it fits for the Punisher. Okay. So
yeah, because he was in the show. Oh God, I don't remember what it was now, but it was was the Prohibition era, or like the 40s. In LA, and the only reason I even knew it existed was Dana Gould, one of my favorite comedians, was in it. So I watched it, and he was in that show, and all I saw was that, and I was just like, oh man, I had a hard time differentiating him.
Yeah, yeah, he's very much that character, but I like him a lot as that character. So
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, so let's wrap this up. We're going to be, I want to say, maybe doubling down a little bit harder on the game clubs next year. We have got a substantial list ready to go, and I'm looking forward to next year as far as the game clubs thing go. John, that one that I mentioned on our line chat, do you want to go ahead and say maybe that's going to be the first one for this year?
I guess so.
Okay.
Because it depends on if Life is Strange finishes up this year.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Okay, Life is Strange barred, I guess, from that conversation.
Yeah.
I think the first game club we're going to be doing is Shadow of the Colossus, because there is a remake coming out in February, and boy, I want to dig into both of those, but I want to get back to the original first, because I have not played that game to completion since the PS2, so I'm looking forward to getting back on that one, so.
It's a very good game.
Yeah, and we've talked about how that is like one of my favorite soundtracks, and just what it did like musically was just so incredible. I don't want to like blow our proverbial wad on that now, but man, I am very much looking forward to that. So yeah, we've got Shadow of the Colossus in the mix, and I don't know when we're gonna do it. But Metal Gear Solid 2 is definitely on the list, and
oh god, I can't wait for that one. I'm in the mood for some Metal Gear Solid 2,
and I think I only talked about this with Joe, but 2018 is going to be 10 years since Metal Gear Solid 4 came out, so I think we're going to have to do that one. It has been 10 years, and I think...
Man, it's going to be hard. I'm figuring out how to play 4 is going to be hard for me.
Yeah.
Because 4 is because I don't own a PS3.
Oh, okay.
So I'll figure it out.
We'll figure something out. My worst case, I think I have 2 PS3s. I can send you one worst case. So
yeah.
Although... Yeah. With as heavy as those things can be, the shipping might just be easier for me to send you the money to go get a fucking PS3. So
I'll figure it out.
Yeah, we've got some time. I mean, that's in June, so I was thinking maybe we could do it around there. But yeah. So we've definitely got some Metal Gear Solid in the future. 3 will be an eventuality, but I think 4 might be a little bit more timely, just because it'll be the 10-year. 3 we can maybe postpone to a little bit further down the road, because that is a long game, and it is also a very good game that I think we might be fighting each other over on who's going to be on that one. So. It might be a little CQC to see who gets on it. So.
And I also want to get you and Brittany to do Night in the Woods pretty soon too. That's that because I've been thinking about a lot, because we got Game of the Year coming up too. It's December now.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's true. And then I would say maybe February, maybe mid-February, we're gonna be looking at Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past.
Okay.
That's That is a very important game to just about everybody on the site, I would say. Me in particular, because that probably...
It's all right.
Yeah, it's that game has roped me in many times, and brought me back to video games I don't know how many times. And on that one, we're going to have, clearly it's going to be me and John, because we're on just about all of these. And then Rich, who is on our Breath of the Wild special, I don't know what you call that one, but yeah, special that we did. He'll be joining us along with maybe somebody else that's a special guest, but to be announced, I suppose. So anyway, that'll wrap that up. So this is gonna be a big year. 2018 is gonna be a big year for our game club. I think we're gonna be maybe doubling down on that one a little bit harder. It'll be a little bit easier once we get all the dates set in stone, so I can start scheduling out my gameplay time. But I think this game club thing's gonna. I think it's going to be a good year for that, because we've got a pretty substantial list, maybe even enough to get us through the rest of the year. But I'm looking forward to this, and I think I may have gotten somebody else into the fold that might be able to bring a different aspect to some of the games that we might cover, because she's a very PC oriented person, and she's got a lot of experience with stuff that I don't, and that I've always been curious about. And I think her knowledge might be good to get me to play stuff that I've been meaning to get to, and the game club's a good excuse to do it. So anyway, Twitter handles, I am Jason Arriola, and you can follow John at John Lucero 777. The site, just go to gamesandjunk.net, and everything as far as social links goes is up in the top right corner. So we hope you had a good Thanksgiving, and we will talk at you guys soon.